Then it flashes back to their previous miserable life on Earth.
So it's like Lost.
Yeah.
In space.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of SinCast is brought to you by Mubi, a curated online cinema streaming exceptional films from around the globe. Each day, Mubi introduces a new gem and you have 1 month to watch it. From cult classics to acclaimed masterpieces, every film is hand-selected by experts. Try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/cinemasins. That's mubi.com/cinemasins for your extended free trial. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Aye, aye.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
I even saluted.
Yeah, you did.
The two finger. I don't know what that is.
I think that's like flipping people off.
I've clearly never been in the military. So
Don't ever do that in Belize. And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hola.
Ooh, good. Broke out the Spanish.
Or in English, hola.
That's right. That's right.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's just when you're trying to be real cool about it. Like, I know there's an H there. You know there's an H there. We know it's not pronounced, but guess what? I'm pronouncing it.
That's right, bitches.
We're going to continue our road trip today.
Ooh, shotgun.
On the road again. The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip. Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
And because it is so extensive, we're going to just do Louisiana today.
There's a ton of shit in
So
Louisiana.
much
Surprising
in
amount.
Louisiana. Yeah.
So much Louisiana.
Yes, exactly. It's a character, Louisiana.
It really is. And it had more than I actually had anticipated. Because you think about the swamp and you think about New Orleans and things like that. But then there's other stuff that's just kind of almost seemingly randomly set in Louisiana, like 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
It's in Louisiana. She begins in New Orleans and she ends up in the rural Louisiana countryside. And what's weird about that is that nobody speaks with a Cajun accent or a Louisiana dialect or anything like that. It just happens to be set in Louisiana.
Yeah. Yeah. Another one that just happens to be Louisiana is that Denzel Washington sci-fi movie that Tony Scott directed. Do-Over, Deja Vu.
Deja Vu. Yeah. Do-Over. That kind of comes out of nowhere that it's sci-fi. And
It does, and it's some really preposterous sci-fi.
Mhm.
Like, it is laughable. It is like the Fast and Furious of sci-fi in terms of like concept swallowing it asks you to do.
Yeah.
But so watchable, man.
Yeah.
If you can flip that switch and go, I will accept this ludicrous premise, it's really watchable and like truly tense. And what it does with the premise it creates is it's able to create an action scene like no movie ever before, where Denzel's trying to chase Jim Caviezel in the past, but Denzel's in the present. But he's wearing that helmet in the car that's showing him the view of the past. He's in the daytime. Jim Caviezel's in the nighttime. There's no movie that can give you that kind of a chase scene and the way that all plays out, because this is such a unique concept. I really like the movie. It's not good by any
No, I liked it. I was in New York when this movie came out, and I remember watched it with other managers and stuff. And like afterwards, one of the girls was like, "Oh, I really liked Halle Berry in that movie." And I was like, "That wasn't Halle Berry.
Oh, it was
That's Paula Patton."
that was not even close to Halle
I was
Berry.
like,
that's early Paula Patton.
Yeah, I was like, "That's Paula Patton," and she's like, "No, that was Halle Berry." I was like,
Oh my god!
"You can't argue with anybody in New York, by the way."
Oh,
I know for a fact it's not. Oh, you can look it up. No.
It's like when Pacino is talking to Johnny Depp and Donnie Brasco, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right, left," and he's like, "Of course I'm right. Wise guy's always right. Even when he's wrong, he's right." Forget about it.
But yeah, that's a good one. It is one of those compulsively watchable, like maybe bad movies or whatever.
Isn't it on the Mississippi River? Is that where like there's a barge coming down or something?
Yeah,
like that?
it's there's a terrorist attack on a ferry that has a bunch of people on it, and Denzel is a cop. His partner's killed in the event, and he kind of ends up roped into this special special investigation by a secret government agency that
Yeah.
has a time-traveling camera.
That's right.
That is pretty preposterous in and of itself until you realize he's going to get in that machine
Yeah.
and be a human time-traveling camera and go back in time. And then he does it. And then you're like, I don't care. It's still cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Tony Scott, man.
we've
Tony
already
Scott's
talked.
got a lot of
There's a lot-
bad, good.
I was going to say his
movies.
resume is kind of filled with movies like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was what he's good at.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is 12 Years a Slave. Won Best Picture in 2013.
I have not seen this, but everything, and I think Jeremy had mentioned it before, but like reading about it, and it's Chiwetel Ejiofor, right?
Yep.
He's in it. Everything about this movie makes me want to see it, even though I'm sure it's a difficult watch.
Yeah, it's one of those films that I think is important, and it's difficult to watch because it needs to be in order to tell the story properly. And other than Brad Pitt, Jesus, pretty flawless.
Well, yeah, but you know what? That's one of those type of things you put in movies that nearly wreck it.
I know.
And Pitt is a producer on it, so that's why he gets to be in there and be the white Canadian savior or whatever.
Oh, is he Canadian?
He's Canadian.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of those type of things. But yeah, man, the movie is brutal and it's like, yep, people are shitty.
Yeah.
People are real shitty, man.
Yeah. Because he's a free man, right?
He is.
Yeah, and
he's
he gets
straight up abducted.
Yeah,
Jesus.
and there's no laws to protect him. And
Once he gets down south, right?
yeah. So, and it's got all that type of stuff where like just the all the different things that happen in it. You'll shed a tear or two in that movie. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Then there is on a much lighter note, All Dogs Go to Heaven.
You can shed a different type of tear for all dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen this.
I haven't either.
This is one of those movies. I mean, it's right in my wheelhouse in terms of the era I grew up
Yeah.
and when it came out. This is Don Bluth, right?
I believe it is.
And it's just one of those that I saw American Tail, I saw Fern Gully, I saw most of the other stuff he did. This is one of the series that I didn't ever see. Maybe this was because this is pretty petty, but wouldn't surprise me for my mother to do this. But we were a cat family.
Mm-hmm.
We were never a dog family, so it may have been one of those things where it just was like, it's about dogs. Who cares? Because I definitely saw the Aristocats. I mean, I'm just saying. Anyway, I've never seen this. Is it good?
Yes, it's adorable.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's adorable. I mean, it's one of those classic, just hand-drawn 2D animation. The dog gets killed early on, like the main character, and he goes to heaven, and he's allowed to come back to, I don't know.
This is the
something.
premise of about 50% of the movies in the 80s.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, seriously.
Hello again,
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah,
Heaven can wait.
exactly. Yeah, no, it's adorable. It's I obviously haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember.
Doesn't it have like 50 sequels too? Like it's got like
think
got a
so.
bunch.
it's
Yeah.
one of those.
Not
where-
quite as many as Air Bud, but it has a bunch.
It's one of those where
If
you
they all
like,
go to heaven, you can recycle this idea.
yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where if you look at the number of titles, it's probably gotten to like 7 by now or something. Or now it's gotten to its subtitle phase where they don't even got the numbers anymore.
Hang on, let me look this up real quick.
When the movie goes to heaven, are there people there?
Yes, but I think they focus on the dogs.
But the movie is saying this is heaven and everything good that died is here. Are there cats? Are there
yeah, they're cats there.
birds
Uh-huh.
and things like that. Okay.
You know what I found completely unfair about the whole ordeal is that sheep go to heaven and goats go to hell.
Yeah, I know that's
Well,
weird.
that's biblical, Chris.
So this inspired a theatrical sequel, a television series, and a holiday direct-to-video film.
Okay, so
I
not
love-
many movie sequels
I
then.
love the part of that song where he's like, "Go to hell, go to hell." Every song by them is awesome.
Yeah.
Did you see they're touring with Ben Folds this summer?
Oh shit!
Yeah, that'd be a good show.
I haven't been to a concert. Well, I went to Pentatonics a couple years ago, but I haven't been to a concert in ages.
They're coming to
That
Nashville.
would be one that might draw because there's literally not a Cake song that comes on the radio that I don't adore.
Yeah.
They're all awesome. My wife gets annoyed because I will crank the volume. I do a pretty good imitation of that guy.
Of John McCree, the lead singer from Cake.
Yeah, they're one of the most unique sounding bands.
They have a
ever.
fucking trumpet.
Well, they just everything about you hear it. It takes 3 seconds to know it's a Cake song.
Yeah, because it's got that dry thing, and they're all yelling in the
It's
background.
intentionally sloppy.
Yeah.
God, I love it. Go to hell.
So 2 different versions of All the King's Men. The only one I've seen is the Sean Penn one.
Yeah.
And I know that the 1949 version is apparently far superior to this.
I think it won Best Picture that year.
Yeah, I think it did too.
No.
But I watched the 2006 version. I didn't like it too much.
I didn't either. I mean, this is the story of Huey Long and like his rise to power in Louisiana and how corrupt it was and everything. And yeah, I mean, it seemed muddled. Everybody was in that. It seemed like, but
yeah, Jude Law was in it, of course.
Yeah.
This movie completely erased in my memory somehow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know anything about this.
So all I remember is Sean Penn being like, if you don't vote, you don't matter. That's all I remember.
Well, see, I can tell you just from that line, I would hate this.
There you go.
Yeah. Then there's Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Woo!
Man, I tell you what, this movie is, I swear to God, everybody had to have been doing some sort of acid or something doing this movie.
And yet, so this is another one that I haven't seen. It's good, right?
Man, it's hard to call this movie good. It is really, really interesting and always will have your attention.
It's the best movie that features Exhibit, the rapper.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Nicolas Cage, obviously, in one of his most unhinged performances, and that's saying something. And I think Werner Herzog too is probably on one of his most unhinged directorial performances, also saying something.
Yeah.
And because it's just one of those things where it's sort of like anything goes in this thing, and like, you know, Nicolas Cage will be tripping somewhere and then the camera will move over and you'll just see a lizard hanging out. It's one of those type of things, one of those type of movies. But like, he's a terrible, like it says, he's a bad lieutenant. He shakes these 2 people down at the beginning of the movie to not get them in trouble, but to steal their drugs.
Yep.
And so,
oh my God, this movie's fucked up.
Yes,
man.
it is.
Like anytime you think, all right, well, now it's like settling into a narrative, it'll go to the next bonker sequence. It's one of those, it's a Wreck of Warren type of movie. Yeah, definitely.
Then Beasts of the Southern Wild, really good movie.
Yeah.
Is
this based in reality or is this more of a fantastical movie?
I can't remember if it was based on a real thing or not. I know it's a post-Katrina story.
Yeah.
And and it's this girl, she's
taking care of her dad or something.
Yeah, she's taking care of her dad, and then something separates her from. It might be Katrina that actually separates them or whatever, and then she's sort of on her own for a while, has to figure out how to live on her own, and then finally like finds people who can help her or whatever. But really good movie.
This is Kavenze Wallace? Is that Walls?
Yeah, I don't remember how that.
Didn't she get some
pronounced.
Oscar?
She got an Oscar nomination.
Ah, I gotcha.
Don't you think it would suck if you were named Katrina before that hurricane, and then the hurricane, like to have the name of one of those 20-year storms that kills a bunch of people?
Yeah,
I guess.
Like it's now you say Katrina. That's all you got to say. And everyone in the U.S.'s mind goes to death, destruction, flooding.
These people named Harvey are going to have a rough time.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh,
all
Harvey.
those dudes named Harvey.
Double entendre with the Harvey. Harvey Weinstein?
Oh,
Harvey Hurricane.
Yeah. Don't name your kids Harvey, people.
Harvey will be the least popular baby name in the next 25 years. So finally somebody's like, wait a minute, why did we ever get away from Harvey?
And meanwhile, one of the most popular names for the next 10 years will be Killmonger.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
A little Killmonger.
That's right.
You know someo's going to name their kid Killmonger.
Yeah.
Or Thanos.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. That's probably already happened.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. It's funny. Barrett writes down Blues Brothers 2000. Jesus.
Do you remember? Did you see this?
I did.
Oh man, I built
this
it.
Movie. Oh, did you really?
Yeah, this was the second. This came out when I was at my second
this
theater.
would have been 98 or 99.
Yeah, and so I put a print together, so I had to watch it at that point. And when I saw Blues Brothers 2000, I had never seen Blues Brothers.
Oh, really?
But I didn't need to know that what I was watching was liquid trash.
Okay, so it wasn't a Horrible Bosses 2 situation.
No. This is one of those things where I was like, why? to my mind, it made me think the first one was liquid trash because I thought they were doing what the first one had done.
I wonder if that colored your opinion of that first one.
It may have. It may have because the Blues Brothers 2000 it's like the opposite of fun.
It is horrible. It takes all of it's what all the copycats and the sequels do for like, you know, I don't know, horror movies or something like that. Where, we'll take this part of it, which is what people want, and then make it into a thing. When it's much more of the context. Blues Brothers, the original one, was really heavily based on John Belushi. I know I'm stating the obvious, but it's the relationship between Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. If you don't have John Belushi, then you really don't have a movie. They put in all the big musical set pieces in Blues Brothers 2000. They put in the road trip and all that stuff. They put in a bunch of cameos, but they don't have any of the spirit of the first one.
No.
I felt like the first one, the music came organically. Like they would walk into a place and it would just, they'd have some story there and then somebody would break into song. This one feels like more like, hey, Johnny Lang.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of,
You're a guy.
Where the fuck did he go?
Yeah.
He's still doing stuff. I actually looked him up fairly recently. He's still like doing blues albums.
Okay, so like Lie to Me is a kick-ass song. And he has upper echelon guitar talent and good looks.
Yeah.
And he came out the same time Kenny Wayne Shepherd came out, and they both just poof, disappeared.
I'm sure they have their niche when it first came out too, right?
I mean, I don't know, but I could go back and watch the Lie to Me video right now, and I'll probably get goosebumps because he's that talented. And then poof. 20 years. Whatever he's doing, nobody has cared, or at least those who have cared have been a small in number.
Not a big, white blues man.
Who are the other famous? There's a couple other famous singers that they
B.B. King is in there, and let's see.
I think Aretha is in this one too, right?
Aretha's in here. John Popper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, getting into the musicians down here.
I bet he plays harmonica. I don't remember him playing harmonica. I bet he does.
James Brown, Paul Schaefer, Erykah Badu.
Paul Schaefer.
Yeah, man.
One of these things is not like the other.
Eric Clapton.
Clapton's in?
In fact, there's a whole band called the Louisiana Gator Boys, and you have Gary U.S. Bonds, Eric Clapton, Clarence Clemens, Jack DeJohnette, Bo Diddley, John Faddis, Isaac Hayes, Dr. John.
Dr. John. They did get a lot of big names in there.
Yeah, it's Lou Rawls.
Dr. John by now is like just 30% clothes. He does.
Well, that's the same could be said of George Clinton.
Yeah, exactly. It's like his character, the Muppet character that's based on Dr. John with all like the flowing robes and all that shit. He like the actual Dr. John has become that, I think.
Well, real briefly, I'll give honorable mention to the Treme, the HBO show, which is not a movie.
Oh yeah. But
one of the things I appreciated about that show was how much it loved New Orleans, both as the city, landscape, architecture, but the local musicians. Like I learned so much about like true jazz roots and who the real gods were just by watching that show, because if there's somebody playing an instrument on that show and it's not Wendell Pierce, that's a real god of jazz, like Kermit whatever, and like all these, I forgot Kermit's last name, but it's not the frog, and he doesn't have a cloaca. Anyway, Treme was awesome, really slow, really more of a novel about a community trying to recover. This is definitely about Katrina. What did I say?
I'm sorry. No, I just thought about something.
Oh, well, okay, good. As long as I didn't put my foot
No,
in my
you
mouth.
didn't say anything.
I really like that violin girl.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
And John Goodman is in this.
Yeah, John Goodman for a brief moment.
For at least
But
part of one season.
The thing I was thinking about, because Wendell Pierce is at the beginning of one of the episodes, is like he's married, but he's always banging other girls in it and everything. And like there's a point where he's having sex with this woman at the beginning, and he's like, "You know what they call the instrument I play, right?" And it's the bow.
The bow. Oh God. Oh man.
But yeah, there's also Jimmy Vaughn, Steve Winwood. Yeah, there was a lot of like big names.
Bring me a higher love.
That's right.
Nashville resident Steve Winwood.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a Bullet to the Head.
God damn. I didn't see this movie, but I think it had, pick any time and it will be bad timing to have a movie called Bullet to the Head come out. But I think it was originally planned to come out around the time that there was a shooting. It may have been the Gabby Giffords thing.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like, every time I saw promos for it, I was like, God, no.
Jason Momoa's in it. Christian Slater.
Not really selling it to me.
Yeah. Then there's Cat People. Yeah, I have seen this.
How do we end up doing All Dogs Go to Heaven and Cat People in the same state?
Do you remember what it's about?
No. Okay, so when you are flipping through channels or whatever, and you land on Cat People, you do not care about the plot whatsoever because Natasha Kinski is just naked all the way through the movie. That's all it is her naked.
There's a 90% chance that you land on a nude scene.
Very much so. And you're just sitting there going, what is it? At first you're like, wow, that's awesome. She's hot. And then you're going, wait, why is she naked all the time? Maybe there's a problem.
Are there any cats in the movie?
Can't even remember.
That's awesome. I'm watching this movie tonight.
Yeah, I can't even remember if there were
right
cats.
after I finish Law Abiding Citizen.
I think there are. I think there are cats.
Isn't that also a Raina Newman song? Cat people got no reason to live.
Short people.
I know it was.
People have nothing to live.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the IMDb description. This is perfect.
Awesome.
A young woman's sexual awakening brings horror when she discovers her urges transform her into a monstrous black leopard.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, sweet. So she's naked. Then she turns into a leopard and kills.
Yeah.
Why am I not seen this movie 12 times?
I know.
already?
Yeah.
This movie is right up my alley.
Yeah, Paul Schrader, man. Paul Schrader's a dark motherfucker. Then there's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Is this okay, so this is a popular movie.
Yeah, it made a decent amount of money, right?
It made a lot of money. It got nominated for a lot of awards, and I believe the IMDb rating is way up there too.
Really?
Which surprised me because everybody I ever run into says they don't like this movie.
I don't like this movie. I don't know anybody that does.
No, I mean it's overlong.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story, but it's like a creepy story at its heart.
The visual effects just get in the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of helping tell the story, they're distracting.
Yeah. And I mean
it's my least favorite Fincher film.
Definitely.
Yeah. I was about to ask if is this or Alien 3 is worse, but like the problem is that a lot of people love Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Yeah, I don't know. It missed for me.
Yeah. This is another F. Scott Fitzgerald story.
Yeah.
And
aging backwards.
Yeah. It's got a great premise, obviously.
Yeah, it's a cool premise.
Yeah, but like you guys are saying, I think there's like it's too long, and it feels like it's exhausting to watch it. Maybe like I get this feeling that once this is published, we're gonna have so many people on Facebook going like, "This is my favorite movie."
All right, good for you.
Yeah, and then I think we discussed this in the Sins video. Daddy's Home.
Oh God!
Like, there's anything that
it's in New Orleans? It's not even like in rural Louisiana.
Yeah, is there anything that just cries out to you, New Orleans, about this movie?
It shocked me actually because when they cut away to like the hospital where they go to get his sperm count checked or whatever, it's like New Orleans Hospital. I'm like, fuck, is this in New Orleans? And then you go back and there are clues that it's in New Orleans, but. Yeah, it's in the suburbs. It has nothing to do with the city.
that New Orleans song in the Simpsons parody of Streetcar, that song is trashing New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you watched that recently. It was on the other day, but it's like every syllable of that New Orleans song is like trashy, virulent, evil, and cruel. It's like every syllable or every like adjective they use is negative.
Well, that was one of the early Simpsons like controversies because people in New Orleans were not happy about that.
Right. I think I remember that.
Yeah, there was a big thing about that. It's kind of like when they went to Australia, and of course they got Australia wrong, and
Bart gets booted.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, like or was it Australia? It might have been Australia. Also Brazil too. They went to Brazil, and that didn't go over well, I don't think. But
by the way, in that we've heard from several Australian listeners, and that picture that you were talking about with the snakes and the dingo and the shark in the background. Apparently, the snakes are fucking and not fighting.
Yes, and also the deaf guy from Rat Race wasn't deaf. He
and
had
actually,
a tongue piercing and talked funny, which is almost, instead of praising the movie for writing a deaf character, it's almost offensive to deaf people to write the character the way they did it. I've only seen the movie a couple times. Clearly, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
You know what, though? We're human beings.
That's right.
We make mistakes.
That's true.
Just like God did when he made us.
That's very true. Speaking of making mistakes, now the movie is the movie's fine. The movie's good. The movie's great, actually. Dead Man Walking, but the Sean Penn in the movie makes a lot of mistakes.
He made several mistakes,
like on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah. That movie's really good, though. It does challenge your ideas about the death penalty a bit.
Well, I think that was sort of the point.
Yeah.
This was when Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins were both publicly vocal against the death penalty, and I remember even loving the movie, knowing they made this movie to make a statement about the death penalty.
Yeah.
But it does work. It is effective.
I think at the time I was 18, so I probably had a way more right wing view of death penalty at the time.
Me too.
But watching that movie, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's true. There's not really much we're really gaining by killing this guy.
No, I mean, again, and I don't want to get all political. I totally understand the people out there who want some sort of justice. It's a murky issue, but for me, it's just it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep.
What you've done is so terrible that to punish you, we're going to do the thing you did. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, movie's really good. Sean Penn's great in it. Sarandon's great in it.
Yeah, she won the Oscar.
It is a heavy-ass slog of emotion.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to feel exhausted when you're done.
Yeah, and Tim Robbins directed it.
He did.
Yep.
Has he directed a whole lot of stuff?
Bob Roberts.
Well, Bob Roberts was one, and then he did a
couple others.
Yeah, I don't think he's like prolific or anything, but
even Bob Roberts was trying to make political statements as much as a movie. Wouldn't it be awesome if you looked it up and found out like he directed the sequel to Homeward Bound or something? Like he had some sort of like stealth directing career.
Oh yeah, Cradle of Rock was another one.
Oh, that's right. That's a really good movie.
Yeah, and then after that, it's a lot of TV shows and stuff like that. So Cradle of Rock was his last.
Well,
feature.
I read yesterday a headline that HBO has canceled some show with him. I've not been watching it because I didn't know about it. I think it's that Here and Now thing I keep flipping past.
Then there's Down by Law. I have no idea. What
really?
is.
This is Jim Jarmusch in an early feature for Jim Jarmusch, and it's Roberto Benigni, it's Tom Waits, and it's John Lurie. Oh, this is a great movie. This is a total recommend. It's in black and white, but
half the movies he makes are in black and white.
Yeah. I mean, especially in his early career, like I think Dead Man was in black and white.
That's really the only other one I know of. I was just making a generalization.
Oh, it's so great. It's these three guys that hate each other. Roberto Benigni doesn't even speak English. I don't think he even knew English when he did the movie in real life. And it's them. They're convicts, and they're in the same like cell block, and they end up busting out one way or another, and they're wandering the Louisiana countryside trying to get to civilization. And it's like all Jim Jarmusch movies. It's very deliberately paced and everything. It's a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of, exterior shots and things like that. But it's so good, man.
So it's like an art house version of Fled.
That's what he went out to do, and he accomplished it. By God,
Yes.
This probably came out before Fled.
It did come out before Fled. Yes, yes. Oh, it's so good, man.
And then there is Drive Angry. Holy crap. Now talk about a movie that is just unfreaking hinged.
I think I've been like subconsciously avoiding Louisiana movies or something.
Drive Angry is a Nicolas Cage, another just insane movie. There's a scene where he's having sex with Charlotte Ross in a hotel room or something, and guys come in to try to kill him. Actually, this might be, I think they may even be stealing from Shoot 'Em Up here, because Shoot 'Em Up has a scene like this, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does.
Where he's having sex with somebody, and then people come in to try to kill him, and then they're he's still having sex with her
And
as
doing
he's
all this shooting.
Yeah.
Is this a terrible movie?
I think I remember enjoying how unhinged this movie was.
I saw it when it came out, and it was because I didn't understand the supernatural elements of it. I thought it was just like a Gone in 60 Seconds type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he comes back from the dead, right? And he's got to challenge Satan or something like that. There's a spiritual Ghost Rider-y element to this. It's not just fast cars and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
vengeful father escapes from hell and chases after the men who killed his daughter and kidnapped his
It's
granddaughter.
a Ghost Rider. It's a part of the Ghost Rider expanded
It's part of
universe.
that. Yeah, exactly. Amber Heard's on this.
Yeah,
William Fichtner. Yeah. All right. So Escape Plan. This movie should have been a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel like I really love the premise.
Is this the Stallone Schwarzenegger?
This is Stallone Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah, I kind of like the idea too.
I love the premise of a guy who is hired to find the weaknesses in prisons and stuff.
Mhm.
The problem for me on this one is that, of course, someone hates the guy who does that,
Mhm.
and they put him in this impossible to escape prison, and so like he's got to figure out how to get out and everything, and so like yeah, there's a point where Stallone goes up to the top and he finds out, oh, this prison's on a big huge ship and it's like in the middle of the water. I wish it had been somebody made a prison that was impossible to escape, and that instead of there being people wanting to keep him there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
he had to try to find his way out. That
Like
would have been
a
so much
Ocean's
more
11
fun.
kind of break out of prison thing.
Yes,
yeah,
it
that
would
would
have
have
been
ruled.
so much more fun than this.
Yeah, and you're totally right about, because I saw Ready Player One, by the way,
Mhm.
and you're totally right about the unnecessary like extra villain there. Like it should
Yeah.
be the journey to get to the egg, because they cut so much context out of the book to get that movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like that was the fun stuff that I
I-
enjoyed reading.
I think people, I don't know. I think it's when there's got to be some idea that the situation can't be the antagonist in the story for some reason.
Even when it's a natural antagonist, like the Escape Plan or Ready Player One, where it should be hard enough. You don't need
Yeah.
all this other bullshit.
Exactly. So that's what I thought I was getting into with Escape Plan, but then you find out, oh, there's people who want him to be in the prison and they're
Mhm.
keeping him there and all that. And yes, of course he breaks out,
Yeah.
but that's not the point. The point is, to me, is it should have been, this guy is like, the guy who built the prison's like, I know I've got him this time or whatever. And like, and it's not, and it's nothing like just untoward. He just
Mhm.
wants
Yeah.
to find out if there's any weaknesses and he thinks he's built the perfect place, and it just ends up, it's okay. It's good. It's a decent movie
Mm.
overall. But I don't remember too much New Orleans or Louisiana about it, though.
Let's
Yeah.
just say there's a better Stallone prison escape movie in Tango and Cash
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
than this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Tango and Cash, good
Mhm.
stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And then The Expendables,
Yeah,
another
man.
Stallone movie.
Their home base is in Louisiana and New Orleans.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Fuck this movie, by the way.
I
Fuck this
hate-
movie and fuck this franchise.
Fuck it in the
these
ear.
movies.
People
Fuck it in the
fucking
other
people
ear.
fucking love these movies.
I hate them.
Fuck them, man.
It's like
Not
it's-
the people, the movies.
Yeah.
This is kind of the reason. I don't know. I feel like this and Fast and Furious are both kind of intertwined and pushing us towards this place where extremes and huge cameo casts are like now part of the ingredients studios think make good films.
Mhm.
And I don't think in and of itself that's true. There's not one moment about any Expendables movie that I've enjoyed.
No, me neither.
Not one. And I like most of the people in them.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to get a boner because you put Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and Bruce Willis in a church and had a conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
And honestly, again, I'm going to incite a lot of hate by saying this, but this is what worries me about Avengers Infinity War is that cameo-itis, that seeing Star-Lord talk to Tony Stark in and of itself will be entertaining.
Yeah.
And that not much thought will go into what they say.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think most of the Marvel fans they just want that. They just want that scene more than they want what they're saying to matter. And I'm not that guy.
Yeah. Well, that's
Expendables never on my radar. I don't care. Fuck you.
That's exactly what the Expendables are. It's getting the bros together and be all muscly and fucking, antagonistic to each other, and then cutting to laughing shots from Dolph Lundgren.
Like
and shit
this
that.
spin-off with The Rock and Statham from the Fast and Furious, that's because of the Expendables. That's just, hey, let's take two side characters who are big-name actors and put them in an action film. We'll hire some hot people. I'm over the whole thing.
I agree.
Yeah. And then, Eve's Bayou. I never saw this. I remember it coming out. I know Samuel Jackson's in this.
Yeah, man. This is, talk about heavy movie.
Yeah. Isn't it like one of his kids sees him like having an affair or
Yes.
something like that? And then,
And then from that perspective, like everything, the movie kind of unfolds based on that perspective, and that perspective may not be reliable.
Right.
And it goes to some weird places.
Oh yeah. Is there any murder mystery type stuff in
at the
this?
very end?
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is an inappropriate time to be laughing, but I think it was Josh. I don't want to pin it on him. One of my friends and I were coming out of a movie and saw the poster for Eve's Bayou. I didn't actually see it, but my friend was like, "Oh, look at Eve. She's doing well for herself. Got herself her own bayou and everything." Sorry, that's all I can contribute to that discussion.
So was it good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's got a 7.3 on IMDb.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good movie, but it's been a while since I've seen it, but it's not a movie that I would want to watch a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm. Fletch Lives, which I've seen. I saw a long time ago. I don't remember much about it. Is this the one? This is the one where he disguise himself as a bug man in this one? Yeah.
So this one, he is willed a property in Louisiana by his aunt, and so he goes down and is involved in a conspiracy that pops up about this televangelist Harley Ermey that wants to take over this property and his property to make a Bible themed theme park called Bible Land. And I don't know why I love this movie so much, but I fucking love this movie.
Look, why is there not a Bible Land?
No,
I think there is.
No, I think there is.
No, I don't mean. Let me explain what I mean. Yeah, I think there are a couple of Christian theme parks. I know there's like a creationist museum. I'm talking about a balls to the wall theme park where you take like exciting Bible stories and you create exciting rides and roller coasters. Like you get to be like Samson the ride or whatever. And
Noah's Flume Zoom.
Why not? Why not?
Exactly.
That would make shit tons of money.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Noah's Flume ride, right? There's enough action in the Bible. I'm saying they could create rides. If they can create rides out of the fucking minions, they can create. Why not?
I wish I could make rides literally out of the minions.
Yeah, just carve them out, hollow them out.
You are now a track. But no, I know I've seen it, but I know that first one way more than this one.
There are some things that overlap that I get confused, but this one has like Hal Holbrook in it, and Cleveland Little, I think, is in this too. It's funny. It's peak Chevy Chase, and I am. Yeah, as we've said before, Chevy Chase had two speeds in the 80s and early 90s. He had the dumb, doddering National Lampoon's Vacation Chevy Chase, and then he had the witty, smartass Chevy Chase that was in Fletch. And I always preferred the witty, smartass one.
Then
probably more like what he is in real life, too.
Yeah. Then there's Focus. I believe, is this the Will Smith, Margot Robbie?
There's just a section in that.
Yeah.
I mean, go to the Superdome or something.
The last time I talked about it on the podcast, like 6 months ago, I barely remembered enough to say anything anyway, and I've forgotten even more now. I didn't hate it, but it's just not really a standout kind of.
I think this is one of the movies I have 2 copies of, and I still haven't seen it.
Double focus.
Double focus. Then there's Girls Trip. They obviously go down to New Orleans in that movie.
God, I wanted to like this movie more than I did.
Wait, I'm not the only one thinking that. I actually thought you guys liked it before you just said that.
Well, Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish
she's definitely funny.
Yeah.
And it was one of those movies that by the time I got around to it, I wasn't even worried about laughing. I thought I was going to love it because it had gotten such high marks, and I didn't hate it. It's just more of a B for me than like an A.
That's exactly what it is. It's a better Bad Moms than Bad Moms.
Yeah. It's a way better Rough Night than Rough Night.
Yeah.
It's definitely better.
But none of them hit the highs of like The Hangover or I don't really like Bridesmaids, but most people like it more than it's not even that level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked Haddish in it, and then everything else is like, it's just kind of
just stock characters. I mean, it's cool to see Regina Hall's character be like this Oprah type badass of like world beater and everything. And she doesn't need a man and stuff like that. But yeah, I just was expecting a little more than it was.
Yeah. Then there's The Green Mile.
Yeah.
Although
the Mile.
A lot of The Green Mile was shot here in Nashville.
Yes.
And I don't know. I don't know if they used the prison. I guess they used the interiors of the prison.
They had to have.
Because that's the story that a lot of Hollywood 27 people have, is that Tom Hanks came to the theater and saw Ronin one day. Which I was not around at Hollywood 27 when that happened.
Damn it.
Yeah.
He would have been like, hey, you're a younger version of me.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy who was
That's my Tom Hanks, by the way.
Yeah, there was a guy who was so convinced that I looked exactly like Tom Hanks that he put a poster of Green Mile up in the projection booth with my name over Tom Hanks' name. But I do believe they shot I think they shot most of this in Nashville.
Yeah, I think so.
And there might be some exterior stuff that was shot.
Yeah, and it's set in Louisiana.
Yeah.
God, I love this movie.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I love this movie not as much as Shawshank, but it's not that far away. Like if it's on like TNT or something like that, like I'll watch a decent.
There's another stealth Sam Rockwell being awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
people don't remember.
He's unrecognizable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're familiar with Rockwell and then you watch this movie the first time, you're like,
he plays a great asshole though.
Yes, he does.
He does. This movie does get me. First of all, I think it's about 20 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the magic of the movie is backloaded.
Yeah.
Because
literally,
literally, yeah. It's when the movie gets supernatural that I actually start to feel things about these characters, and but it's good. I like it.
Well, the magic comes out of nowhere. Like you seem to be watching. It's a compelling drama on its own, and Hanks is terrific in it. But then when you get this John Coffey stuff, you're like, what the fuck? And it really takes off.
This movie really is populated with a lot of like great characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Michael Jeter plays a really memorable character in this. Obviously Michael Clark Duncan, obviously Sam Rockwell. And then I don't remember the guy's name, but the asshole asshole guard guy.
I don't remember that guy's name.
Discount Casey Zemesco.
And then David Morse is great in this too.
But yeah, it's one of those things that it actually has. I think the story has real power, especially that image of him cradling the two bloody dead children when you have the context of why he was doing it.
And he's just bawling.
The character goes from monster to, baby in your eyes like that. Anyway, I just wish it would get there faster. What I was going to say that I lost that I now have regained is there's a little bit of that unnecessary secondary villain here, because between Sam Rockwell and the asshole guard, I think maybe one of them could have carried it, because there's enough circumstantial antagonism that I don't think they need two assholes in that prison.
By the way, that guy's name is Doug Hutchison. He played Percy Wetmore. And then Barry Pepper obviously is in this too.
Percy.
Yeah. But yeah, Green Mile, really good movie. Then there's Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen this.
It's set at like a Tulane type of university.
Yeah. This is a lot of fun.
I
mean, it you feel like it could have been a better movie, but for what, this is one of those, for what it is.
But if it had 3 or 4 tweaks to the script, and again, we talked about the rating, if you made it a little bit more of a hard R type of thing, I think it would be like really up there, like a really, really good movie.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. But yeah, there's some things in there like, it's like, no.
Yeah, exactly. When you break it down, when we did the Sins thing,
no. But no, it's fun. And then there is Hard Target.
Yeah, Johnny
this
Woo,
is
man.
actually good. This is
John Woo.
Yeah, it's John Woo, and I believe it's his first movie in the States.
I think so.
And he wanted somebody other than Jean-Claude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, he wanted Kurt Russell in this movie.
Oh really?
Well, that could have worked too.
But yeah, so it changed the whole complexion of the movie, because he wanted Kurt Russell, which would have had more dramatic weight, obviously, than Jean-Claude Van Damme. But because Jean-Claude Van Damme was able to do so much of the action-y stuff, it made it more action-y.
Unfortunately, Kurt Russell was unavailable because he was filming Escape from L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Overboard.
Yeah.
No, this is enjoyable. The action, you're going to see John Woo touches here and there, but it's not perfect. And Jean-Claude is always a little bit hamstrung as an actor. What he brings in action ability, he kind of lacks in dramatic ability.
And there's an actress in here who is she had a career like in this window, 91 to 93. Yancey Butler.
Oh,
wow.
She was in a ton of things back then. I feel like, man, maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was only in like 2 things.
Maybe she was just in a bunch of your
Ooh,
dreams.
she's really pretty. But
she's very pretty.
But yeah, she's like, that's one of those like, wow, what happened to her after that? Because she seemed like she was in a ton of stuff at that point.
She was in Hard Target, The Hit List, Drop Zone, Let It Be Me, Fast Money, Ravager. That's all from 93 to 97.
Yeah, there was a period of time there where she's just liking everything, and then suddenly just kind of like, yeah, I mean, anyway.
There's jumps, there's kicking, there's an arrow.
Yep.
What's next?
Yeah, Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, Jesus.
Everything has to go down to New Orleans when it's
Jesus
vampires.
Christ.
God damn.
Because True Blood and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie is a slog for me.
It's not good.
I have trouble enjoying any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Any of it. Like, I just...
Yeah, it's a slow ass. It's trying to be real artistic. This was the first time we looked at vampires in this kind of romantic way.
It's like a Merchant Ivory vampire film.
Yeah, yeah. And it has 1 million people in it.
It does.
But this is Neil Jordan's follow-up to The Crying Game.
That's so weird, man.
Yeah, like out of nowhere, he makes this, very different type of drama, and then he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna adapt an Anne Rice."
But he
novel.
did bring his buddy from Crying Game over.
Stephen Ray.
Yeah, Stephen Ray.
That's the best part of the movie, both musically. I love the score to this, and then he's like, doing weird flips and walking, on the ceiling, and he's like the only vampire that seems like he's having fun. Even Tom Cruise as Lestat, who's supposed to be having a lot of fun, is not having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas is in this for a hot second.
I'm surprised that somebody saw this movie and then Kirsten Dunst had a career afterwards, because I think she's a fine actress.
Yeah, she's super
outside
young.
of this movie. Yeah. But in this movie, she's just nails on a chalkboard to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that the character's supposed to be that. She's that too.
Yeah.
And then later on in life, she grew up and became a good actress.
Yeah, especially when she finds out that she'll never be the age of the woman that she sees in the window or whatever. She goes off on that big,
God, everybody's depressed and brooding and fucking just come on.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
But yeah, it's like the studio, and I think it was Warner Brothers who did this, but like, it's like the studio was like, let's try to get as many like super hunks that we can into this thing, and just, whatever happens.
Yeah. Christian Slater again.
Yeah, Christian Slater. Oh, yeah. JFK. Lots of New Orleans stuff in here. This is where Garrison is from, the Kevin Costner character. In fact, the stuff that he tries to do, like he believes the conspiracy was sort of rooted in New Orleans, the conspiracy to kill JFK. So like, the character that Tommy Lee Jones plays, Robert Shaw or something, not Robert Shaw, something Shaw, Clay Shaw.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones plays Clay Shaw. He's a New Orleans socialite. You have the Joe Pesci character. All this is supposed to have happened in New Orleans, and that's why he's able to bring some charges or whatever. He's the only one who's ever brought, I think, a case in the JFK case, aside from Lee Harvey Oswald and everything like that, which never got to go to trial. But I've talked about my experience with JFK over the years a bunch, going from I thought this was the Bible to now I haven't been able to watch the movie in years because of,
He makes a really convincing argument.
He
though.
really does.
Yeah.
If you're watching this movie back in 1991 and there's not really anything that to go to like refute it or whatever, like the case is amazing. Like, oh yeah, why would, all this stuff makes sense to me and everything. This movie's really well made, and that's why I hate like not being able to go back to it very much anymore, because it just doesn't have the same. When you find out a lot of the stuff in there is either made up or just didn't happen or whatever, it starts to become just a different movie.
Yeah, Oliver Stone had his fastball between like 86 to 91, right? It was Platoon, Wall Street, and JFK, and then I would say starting at Natural Born Killers. Like he
starts going off the rails.
Yeah.
Starts going off the rails.
So where is he now?
He's
Whoa.
he's demoted from the minors. He's in a
Wow.
broadcast booth.
The movies he makes now, and this is probably not even recent anymore, but Savages was one that he came out with. It wasn't very good.
W was bad.
Yeah, W, and then he came out with something fairly recently, but it was another one of those. He did that World Trade Center movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's actually more depressing than Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah. Then there is Jeff, Who Lives at Home.
Yeah.
I never saw this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is Jason Segel and Paul Rudd.
How? Yeah, I never saw this either, but this, just saying that, I'm there. Is it
yeah.
like a dramedy, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, so Jason Segel is like this dude that lives at home in his parents' basement and everything.
It's Ed Helms, right?
I'm sorry, it's Ed Helms, yeah. And Ed Helms is fairly successful, but he's having like family troubles and stuff like that. And so Jason Segel's character, Jeff, wants to go on this like spiritual journey to figure out what he wants to do with his life. And he's like this kind of free-spirited character, kind of like I Love You Man type of stuff. And that's why I get it confused with Paul Rudd. But yeah, it's a fun watch. It's fun.
All right.
Live and Let Die. Man, I tell you what, this is one of the most bonkers Bond movies
Even
ever
for a Bond
made.
movie.
Ever made. I don't know whether to even call this good. In fact, I think I hate this movie if I recall.
I don't enjoy watching it.
It's the typical Bond thing that started happening in the 70s, where if something became popular or at least somewhat, I don't know, at least somewhat known, they would try to pattern a whole Bond after it. So like this was a blaxploitation Bond.
Jesus.
This is one where he goes into Harlem and he I mean, it's
Jesus.
It's stuff like that.
Who did the original song for this?
Paul McCartney.
Yeah, this was Wings.
Wings.
Yeah.
And the Guns N' Roses covered it?
Yeah.
And it's way better?
No, I like the Wings version.
Well,
better.
it's that. Now I heard the Guns N' Roses version of this first, and then
Maybe that's it.
and then heard Wings, but I don't know which one I like better actually. I like the Guns N' Roses one because it's got a lot more to it.
There's so much more crunch in guitars
But-
from the 90s on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Live and Let Die, just a strange chapter
It
in
is.
the Bond
I'm with
franchise.
you. I don't like it.
Yeah,
Jane Seymour's early Jane Seymour's.
yeah,
in it.
man.
Oh,
Early Jane
yeah.
Seymour.
The
Mhm.
doctor.
That's right. Dr. Quinn,
The doctor-
medicine woman.
The doctor's in. My wife loves that show.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I really don't have much respect for my wife's taste in television, but she doesn't have much respect for mine either.
Then there's Mr. Right.
Yeah, so this is another Sam Rockwell. You've seen this,
We've
right?
talked about this before.
Have
This
we?
is our old buddy wrote this.
Oh, Max Landis?
Yeah.
I like it.
That's the gesture for Max Landis now. It's no longer bring me the check waiter. It's Max Landis. This is a very enjoyable B- movie that never quite hits. It wants to be some mix of, I don't know, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically Anna Kendrick is bad at relationships, and she literally bumps into Sam Rockwell in this like convenience store, I think, and they have this awkward conversation that just continues to where they're eating lunch together, and they kind of start to fall for each other, and he keeps telling her the truth. He kills people. He's an assassin. She thinks he's joking. They walk in the park, and some sniper tries to kill him, and he starts dancing out of the way of the bullets. And he's basically, his shtick is that he's the best assassin because he's too quick. He can almost slow down time like Quicksilver to see things happening around him. They do this camera trick thing, and then later on he discovers Anna Kendrick has it too and starts throwing knives at her to prove it to her. It's kind of a fun scene. Tim Roth is basically an evil agent who's trying to kill him. It's fun. It's short. You're gonna laugh. Anna Kendrick gets to be a badass at the end of the film because she's sort of unlocked this assassin power, and so she gets to take out some baddies while Sam Rockwell's taking out some baddies. There's some unexpected humor because he bonds with one of the henchmen that tries to kill him with a shotgun, and they end up becoming friends. Anyway, it's not great, but I sure enjoyed it. I had no idea it was set anywhere near Louisiana.
Yeah.
Nothing in the movie that said Louisiana to me.
One that well, I guess Now You See Me does have quite a bit in New Orleans.
They do their big show there, right?
Yeah.
They're, like in the middle of the movie.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now
The
you see,
Four Horsemen.
yeah. Now You See Me is one of those movies where, just nothing that Mark Ruffalo does in this movie. By the end of this movie, you will think back to what Mark Ruffalo did, and you will be like, "Why did you do that?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that?
Right. Now the movie itself is decent fun. Like the second one is it's awful.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
Yeah.
This one is decent fun though.
Let's see where they go with the third one.
Yeah. They pitched it in the trash can.
You say that, but they're gonna make it.
Oh.
Look, I just read this morning that somebody greenlit a Chicken Run sequel.
Oh, really?
Like they're going to make everything.
Mm-hmm.
Our children's childhood is going to be identical to our own.
That's true.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, that's true.
The Old Boy remake, the Spike Lee made. I've seen this.
How does it? Have you seen the first one?
Yeah, first one's great.
I've seen the first one, and I saw no reason to see this one.
No, the first one's great, and then there's no real need to remake this. But if you're going to remake it, and you're going to have Spike Lee, it feels like it should be way more dynamic than it is.
Oh, interesting.
Like, the scene in the original Old Boy, which is almost like a video game fighting thing, where it's a side-scrolling thing, where he goes taking on like 30 guys and everything. That's a great little fun scene. Completely gone in this one. I mean, it's just not the same thing, and there's just not anything added to it that makes it. And it's just this just to take out all the fun of Old Boy. Now, Old Boy does have, and I'm not going to spoil it because it does seem like it's a fairly recent enough movie, but Old Boy does have like a big revelation at the end and everything, and that's still in here. But I mean, you didn't to get to that point, you didn't get all that. There wasn't any of that excitement that got us to that point. But you have Josh Brolin and you have Elizabeth Olsen, and that's Thanos banging Scarlet Witch.
Josh Brolin. We're going to look back and see that Josh Brolin had one of the most interesting careers that nobody really talks about.
I think you're right. Well, he from this point on, I don't think that's going to be the case.
That's true. Up
until Cable and Thanos, I think he had turned in dynamic work consistently, but wasn't one of the guys we talked about who does that. But history will show him as one of our better actors, I think, because he's been around. Granted,
on Goonies,
he got in because his dad, but he's good. He wouldn't have stuck around. Because look what happened to Tori Spelling. She's not in anything anymore.
That's true.
There you go.
I just love that scene in Inherent Vice where he just eats all the weed.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Pelican Brief, obviously John Grisham has a lot of connection into New Orleans and stuff like that.
Didn't this make like a ton of money at
the
the time?
Well, I wouldn't say ton, but it did. It was a hit. It came out in Christmas of '93.
This is Denzel and Julia Roberts, right?
Yeah. This was when Grisham was super big. It's like, in addition to Nirvana and Bridges of the Madison County, people talked about John Grisham.
That's true.
I'll keep adding a list.
I mean, he could do now. Granted, because of this era, he can still do no wrong. He could put out a book full of farts and it would sell 2 million copies. But there was this era here
book of farts
where he was the most popular writer around.
Yeah.
And every book that came out was being cast as a film as it was coming out, because there was a nice string there. Pelican Brief started it. Then they went back and made A Time to Kill. They made A Firm.
Well, The Firm came first.
The Firm came first?
It's actually the same year. The Firm came out in the summer.
Okay.
And then Pelican Brief came out
and then
in
they
December.
went back and did A Time to Kill.
Time to Kill was later.
Client.
Yeah. Well, they did so they did The Client first because Schumacher did The Client.
Okay.
And Grisham was so impressed with Schumacher on The Client, he finally gave him A Time to Kill.
Okay.
He didn't want that one to get shot for a long time.
Huh.
And then because The Client, he liked The Client so much, I don't know why.
All right.
The Client's
it's fine.
basic.
I mean, it will go down in history as having given us Brad Renfro.
Yeah,
That's basically
and
it.
then Brad Renfro deprived us of him for the rest of his life.
What was the one that Coppola did?
The Rainmaker.
Rainmaker, yeah.
Rainmaker. There was another one, The Runaway Jury. Like anything he published got turned into a movie because he was that popular.
Yeah, and because I think you said The Chamber. You had. It was just like. Yeah, it seemed like every year there was a new Grisham, and it was always the same thing.
Yeah, they're
some
generally,
lawyer drama.
Yeah, they're generally fine. I think maybe The Client is my least favorite one, and I still like that. Like,
Yeah.
I like The Pelican Brief a lot. Love The Firm.
Mm-hmm.
Runaway Jury is another
I
Grisham.
really like Runaway Jury,
I mean,
which is
it's
set
all,
in Louisiana, too.
These are all in the B- to B+ area of entertainment. I actually read most of these books back in this era. At this point in my life, this is, again, pre-constant high-speed internet, so kids had to do things like read. So I read most of the Grishams, all the Crichtons, all the Tom Clancy's. In this 80s, 90s era, those were the three big authors, at least in terms of whose books became movies.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read all the Danielle Steele?
No, but my mom did.
Mm-hmm. I read the Sidney Sheldon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think I read three of these. I read the three big ones: The Firm, Pelican Brief, and Time to Kill. And that's where I stopped. Grisham's fine. It's just I just didn't need to read any of the other ones after that.
No, it does get it's a bit like repetitive, like Entourage. You sort of feel the beats coming. Anyway,
yeah,
Legalese saves the day
That's
over
right.
and over and over.
This massive overbilling.
Yeah. Then there's just the plain The Rescuers.
Yeah,
they're
you
not
remember
from
the
Down
Rescuers?
Under.
No, they're not from Down Under yet. Do you remember the Rescuers?
Yes.
Yeah.
This was one of the few appropriate things I was allowed to watch. And Down Under. They're both enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't remember them in the sense that I remember plot details. I
Yeah.
just remember it was adventurous. It was fun. Rodents. I enjoyed it.
They're like a secret society of mice that help save the day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man,
It's
that was
adorable,
back in
though.
the day where mice were saving the day.
That's right, man.
all the
Goddamn
time.
mice were like, it's like we didn't know they were diseased or
You're
something.
right.
American Tail. What was the one with Basil on Baker Street?
Great Mouse
the Great
Detective.
Mouse
Mouse
Detective.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
man.
Not to mention it all goes back to Mickey.
Yeah.
Fucking
It's true.
ass.
Mhm.
Mice.
Yeah. We
Or
just
Steamboat Willie, sorry.
talked about Runaway Jury in part. And then there's Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Yeah. God, this is a good movie.
Yeah.
Saw it once.
You were underwhelmed?
No, I remember being whelmed.
Was there? I don't remember much about this. Was there very much New Orleans or Louisiana?
I think
or
it's
anything?
actually in Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
See, and again, I've never been to Louisiana at all, so in my mind, Baton Rouge and New Orleans are identical.
They're the same.
I'm sure they're similar but
Yeah, Baton
different,
Rouge.
but in my mind, they're like the same exact thing.
This is probably... Man, Andie MacDowell is in two movies that I love.
Mm-hmm.
She's fine in this one. In fact, she's better in this than she is in Groundhog Day.
Mhm.
She's annoying in Groundhog Day. Here, it's just this whole movie has a vibe that's very cool, and it's askew. And anything with James Spader.
Well, yeah.
In this time frame.
I kind of want to bang James Spader in this movie, right?
I know, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like when she comes up to him and he's like, "Do you think you can give me an orgasm?" And he's like, "Yeah."
He's lost something, though, hasn't he? Like, he's the most in danger of turning into James Woods from this point forward, right?
I think he's turning into like Christopher Walken, where he's like chewing everything. up.
Because there's a period of time where he does his little office stint where he's the boss there. and
Robert
he's-
California.
Yeah, Robert California. He does that, and then he's Age of Ultron, where he's basically doing that whole thing too.
But wasn't he doing it on that legal show?
Boston Legal.
Boston Legal.
And then he's on another show where he's
Blacklist.
Yeah,
and now he's really into dialogue chewing. Like
Yeah.
he'll make something like a line that should be done in 3 seconds.
Well,
It'll be
it's-
20.
It's weird looking at him back in the 80s and realizing how normal he was. Because in Wall Street, he's just kind of he's a semi slime ball in Wall Street, but he knows his limits.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's a point where he's like, okay, all right, I'll do this, and then by the end of it, he's like, get me out of this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like he's sort of just seems like more normal back then, and then like so he found that thing just like Christopher Walken did, and just
right
like
around Secretary, I guess, is where he started getting real. Well, I guess
Yeah.
Crash, the Cronenberg Crash.
yeah.
Oh,
Although
Jesus.
really
Crash, I don't think he's like that in Crash.
No, he doesn't have that same type of dialect.
Yeah, but
that movie gave me PTSD.
It's fucked up.
It's like one of the most fucked up. You can read a description of that movie, and it will never be as fucked up as the actual movie.
It's true.
it's true,
Jesus.
very true. Then the Skeleton Key. I saw this. This is Kate Hudson.
I really like
It's
this movie.
good.
Yeah, it's
no,
really
it's a good movie. I was not expecting anything from it.
No, and this is probably behind Almost Famous Yeah, Almost Famous. This is probably her second best performance.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the only movies that you'll see after Almost Famous where she has to carry it by herself. But.
Peter Sarsgaard is in this, and it's got a whammy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a great whammy at the end.
Yes, it does.
Have you seen this?
No, because they marketed it as just another horror movie. It looks like every other horror movie I've ever seen, so I haven't seen it.
Well, this is very Louisiana voodoo-y and stuff like that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I love voodoo.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
serious.
Yeah.
You think I'm joking? No.
You should seriously watch it. It's a good movie.
Okay.
Steel Magnolias.
Julia Roberts
that movie
diabetes.
that we couldn't come up with.
Well, at least we got it this right off the bat this time.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I mentioned this to my mother-in-law, by the way, as I was editing that podcast, and I was like, "Do you remember the movie where Julia Roberts has?" And by the time I got "Die" out, she was like, "Steel Magnolias."
Yeah.
I was like, "Shit."
Yeah. Just make us feel stupid. Why don't you? We just recently talked about Steel Magnolias. And then A Streetcar Named Desire.
God damn, that's such a
Yeah.
great movie. This is a great movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And again, I like to point out the good parody moments because we get the Simpsons parody here with the Stella and the whole streetcar. But then there's that Seinfeld where Elaine gets wasted.
Oh yeah.
She's at I think she's with Jerry at the old folks' home down in Florida, visiting his parents, and she's like, "Stella!" Fucking awesome.
So this is Marlon Brando at his finest. It's Elia Kazan.
Yeah.
And Vivian Leigh is Blanche Dubois, who's fantastic. They made a remake of this in 94. Do you remember this?
No.
Alec Baldwin played Stanley Kowalski.
Yikes. Who played the woman?
There's
There's two main female characters.
Yeah, there's Blanche and then there's Stella.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 95. Alec Baldwin, Jessica Lange, John
I do remember
Goodman,
this.
Yeah, Goodman.
Diane Lane.
I do remember this.
Goodman has popped up a few times today too.
He has. This is the third or fourth time.
Yeah, he's in
Wow.
a lot of New Orleans movies.
This was made for TV. Jessica Lange won a Best Actress Golden Globe Award.
I remember
Really?
this.
Maybe it was
I
good.
remember Jessica Lange getting all the attention for playing Blanche, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't remember Alec Baldwin was in it or any of that other stuff.
Anyway, if you're going to watch any of them, watch the 51.
51.
51?
Yeah.
I'm
this
thinking of On the Water.
This is where a lot of people point to where naturalistic acting started with
Mhm.
Marlon Brando's performance. Because up until that point, we had been getting the Cary Grants and the Jimmy Stewarts of the world who were perfectly fine the way they were, and there was a lot of theatrics involved in their acting and everything. This is the first time somebody seemed to really get raw and dark
Yeah.
and that type of thing. And I think that's what a lot of people point to is that sort of that nexus point, I guess, of, I don't know if I'm saying that right. But
Well, no, I mean, this is the first time, that I think somebody embodied that character. And you needed to embody that character to make it really sing.
Yeah. And then there's a Suicide Squad, which I think has pieces. Is it pieces?
Well, Belle Reve is the prison in Louisiana where the squad is formed.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It must be based in the comics canon because there's no movie reason for that.
Well,
they end up in New York, right?
No,
Or
they end up in
Gotham?
Midway City is
Oh,
their
what the
their
fuck?
destination, which is the comic book representation of Chicago. But they're formed in the prison down there where Ike Barinholtz is and everything is in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Let's
It's in
talk
the
about
swamp.
something else now.
Fuck that movie.
Well, the
So
something
awful.
else is The Water Boy, which we have discussed quite a bit.
Well, that movie is Louisiana as fuck, though.
Mhm.
It is.
I mean, in a cartoony kind of caricature way.
yes.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if I was from Louisiana, I would be too fond of the way Louisianans are portrayed or
I
sound.
didn't like this movie at all.
No, I hated it.
No, well, I mean, it's got some moments in it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like a lot of comedies, right? Yeah.
I remember if this was the first time I felt like he was playing a mentally challenged person for
Mhm.
laughs.
Mm.
Because he is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's frustrating for me because I think there's a way to have a mentally challenged person in a comedy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of offensive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, I didn't really laugh all that much. And as we've said before, I'm kind of an Adam Sandler apologist up until a point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't find really.
Did they use
anything
the R word
funny.
in this movie?
I don't remember.
This was definitely in the era when that would still have
I mean, the
Acceptable,
coach
yeah.
was an asshole. Like every opposing player was an asshole. Like everybody's an asshole in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is a point where I do like this, but if we color it under the idea that he might have some issue or whatever, then maybe it's not as funny as I thought it was. But the part where he's like sitting there going, because he starts getting success. He has a lot of sacks and stuff like that, and Lawrence Taylor takes him to some thing to talk about how he's doing the things that he's doing. And he's like, so tell us how you get so many sacks. He's like, well, the guy with the ball, I guess chase after the guy with the ball, and if he throws it to somebody else, I chase after that guy or whatever. And then so Lawrence Taylor turns to the kids and he's like, that reminds me of another thing, kids. Don't use crack.
And this is before all of his
No, this was after.
No, after his crack. But since then, he got arrested with a prostitute and all that.
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence Taylor is always in
every
some
other
sort
day.
of trouble. Yeah.
I feel like I remember the Waterboy trying to excuse it by doing that thing where they just said, he's slow or he's slower. I think there's probably even a scene early on where someone asks something blatantly like, is he...
Yeah, he could
challenged, and they say, "Oh, he's just a little slower than everybody," but that's just still a cheat.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the comedy's coming from the fact that he's stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right,
but not in a Dumb and Dumber kind of way.
Yeah,
it's not. Anyway, sorry.
I get it. I get you. Then you have another. We'll rapid fire this. Angel Heart, which is the Alan Parker movie where Robert De Niro plays Satan, I believe.
Oh my God, this movie has the most fastest lose your boner scene ever. Because I remember there's like a naked
Lisa
Bonet with Mickey Rourke, and there's sex, and then all of a sudden everyone's drenched in blood.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, and it's like blood raining from the ceiling or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, because I remember very distinctly. Wow, my boner just went away in a second.
Exactly.
In like 1 second flat.
Like no problem. Yeah, so like if you have the problem with the Viagra or whatever, like the 5 hours, just watch Angel Heart. Then there's Albino Alligator, which was Kevin Spacey's directorial debut, and it had a ton of people in it. Don't remember liking this very much. I saw it, but
it's mostly set in one bar too.
Yeah,
right?
it's set in a bar.
I remember not liking it as well.
Yeah, I think Matt Dillon's in it.
Yep, Matt Dillon's definitely in it.
But I remember there being one really cool shot in there of an overhead shot of a car like crashing or something. But man, I don't remember much other than I didn't like it. The Big Easy. I haven't seen this in forever. This is it Dennis Quaid, Ellen Barkin?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously the Big Easy, Yeah. So, I mean, if it wasn't shot in New Orleans, might be like Chicago though, that was shot in Canada.
Or it could have been about that basketball player.
No, it could have been. Then there's Bug, William Friedkin.
Yeah.
This is based on a play.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, William Friedkin made this?
William Friedkin made this.
I just saw this randomly a week ago, and then you sent the list of Louisiana movies, and this was on it.
Interesting.
It's a weird-ass movie.
Yeah, Michael Shannon and
Is it
Ashley Judd,
and Harry Connick Jr.
Who believe that there's a bug, a flesh-eating bug in their hotel room, and that they have to hold themselves off in this hotel room. And you never know whether or not there's anything.
It doesn't answer the question.
Never answers the question, which is, and so they do some real fucked up stuff in this movie. But Friedkin got on this sort of career path where he did this and he did it's Killer Joe.
Killer Joe. Oh, he made that too?
Yeah.
That movie's fucked up.
Yeah, that movie's real fucked up.
Jesus Christ.
The Cincinnati Kid, which is a pretty good poker movie.
Oh yeah.
Steve McQueen. Good movie.
I like Steve.
It's funny. It tells you the era that we live in. Cincinnati Kid's a great movie, and at one point I was playing poker with some people, and they decided let's put Cincinnati Kid up on the screen while we do this. Now, Cincinnati Kid doesn't have very much poker in it, even though it's a poker movie or whatever. And like, you had people like turn around, what the hell is this? And you have to say, it's actually a good movie and everything, but it's not Rounders, which you can have in the background, it's constantly things going on and everything, whatever. But Cincinnati Kid's good.
How offended would like a poker party be if I showed up for my first one and in the background I put up the movie 21?
They would be confused, probably.
Why did you put a shitty movie?
Yeah.
It's not even the same game.
Yeah. Kidnap, which came out last year, that's a Halle Berry movie. Nobody here saw that.
Nope.
Is that the one where she's a 911 operator?
Yes.
No, it's not. That's my joke. It's a whole separate movie.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't remember that happening.
No, yeah, this is where,
In that one, the girl got kidnapped, and Halle Berry's on the phone trying to find her. And then physically ends up in the building saving her, as 911 operators are wont to do.
Yeah.
The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood. I don't think I saw this.
You call a movie that, I'm not watching
I
it.
did see Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yes, I saw
but
that
I did
too.
not see the Yaya Sisterhood.
Well, it's the same thing, only with more yayas.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
What are yayas anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Mom, Dad, could you tell me what a yaya is?
You got to watch the movie to find out.
Dracula 2000. I saw this shit.
Gerard Butler, baby.
Yeah.
Me too.
Holy shit.
Not good.
Oh, it's a terrible movie.
Not
Holy
good.
crap. This is way back in the because Blues Brothers 2000.
I was going to say, any movie that has 2000 as part of the title is a piece of shit.
Yeah, pretty much. They were. It was like 98, 99. They would do these like blah 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 2000, and awful.
Yeah, they did it so often. There was I think it was the 97 or 98 version of the EA Sports hockey game where like they didn't have any locks in place when you created a player, so you could 99 up all of his stats and make him superhuman. And I made one I called HockeyBot 2000.
Nice.
And he won the MVP.
Yeah, shocking.
He was indestructible.
I never saw this LBJ movie. That came out last year too. Right?
That's the one with Woody Harrelson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, I didn't watch that because I watched the LBJ movie with
Cranston?
Bryan Cranston.
Ah, okay.
And I'm
Is that
like,
how you go?
how many LBG movies? Yeah, LBG. Yeah, it was good enough. I mean, I also recently saw the communist writer one, Trumbo.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a
Communist
decent
writer.
time watching it, but what?
Communist writer. Boy.
Well,
That's actually a good summary.
I guess he's not a communist in that movie, but
The Man in the Moon. That's the Reese Witherspoon movie.
I've seen
That's
this.
her first one.
First
right?
performance.
Sam Waterston
I think you might be right.
and one of the Jeremy or Jason London is in this.
Oh yeah, that's right. This was
One of them London
yeah.
boys.
Yeah, this is one of those I saw on Sunday
Yes,
afternoon.
Jason London.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't seen this in forever. But Reese Witherspoon's like 14. or
Oh, is she
something.
that young?
Yeah,
She's super young.
Yeah. And this was and this is where she's like basically straight out of Nashville at this point. when she did
Straight
this
out of
one.
Nashville.
That's right. She had done those Emma's Superlative Florist commercials and stuff like
The
that.
superlative
That's right.
forest.
I gotta look that up. That's before I moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
You never saw the Emmas?
Just like Opryland, the theme park. That's a reference that I'm never gonna.
Oh my
it's never
gosh,
gonna
those
resonate with me.
Emma's commercials!
They
Like
were
he had
always
this
in
one
the-
guy, he had this real distinct voice, and he's like, "Emma's, the superlative florist."
It was like an SNL sketch.
Yeah, it really was. And then let's see, a movie just called New Orleans. Billie Holiday and Louis Armstrong.
Yeah. I'd like to see this. It was
Sounds
one of those musicals.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty Baby, which is known for having a very underage Brooke Shields.
Oh, yeah.
Naked in it. Now it was sort of, it wasn't done in any sexual way or anything, but it was even back in the 70s where they didn't give a fuck, this was controversial. And,
This is before Blue Lagoon too, right?
yeah,
And that was controversial.
yeah, absolutely, because she was underage in Blue Lagoon as well.
It's almost like we didn't have laws for a while.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, there's some people who really like the movie. Anyway, The Princess and the Frog, that's a decent animation. That was when Lasseter took over the whole animation division at Disney and decided that there should be some 2D animation that came out, and this one was different because the princess is black for a change.
Oh.
And so like it's the same essential story, and I think even on this one though they have a twist. They twisted the original story a bit so that it's not the exact same. I don't remember what that
Well,
was.
when she kisses the frog and he grows into a prince, he still has a cloaca.
Oh, right.
Nice.
Which
Still
Very controversial.
You would think
That's
Disney
right.
would not touch that
Well,
topic.
you wouldn't think they'd animate a cloaca.
And yet they
Animated.
did. Because
Animated
it's such a
cloaca.
non-sexual looking thing.
I know, exactly. Then there's a Selfless. Was that Johnny Depp? Well,
No, it's Ben Kingsley and
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking of some other movie that had
Wait.
the slash in it.
it's a body switching thing. Like Ben Kingsley wants to be in a younger body.
They're still making those?
Mm-hmm.
God damn it.
Yeah.
All right.
Then Undercover Blues. That's Alec Baldwin, right?
Oh no, isn't
Kathleen
that
Turner?
Dennis Quaid?
Is that Dennis Quaid?
Is that the one where he and his wife are agents and their kid gets involved?
I said Kathleen Turner.
Yeah, that's it. Dennis Quaid, Kathleen Turner. Yeah.
Oh, Kathleen Turner is in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I'd made a misreference.
I'm thinking of Miami Blues because Alec Baldwin was in that.
Yes.
But I didn't see Undercover Blues. Did you see that?
No, I have no
And
desire.
The Whole Truth. I don't know.
I've seen Nothing But the Truth, but I haven't ever seen the whole
Right. Yeah.
I've seen The Truth About Cats and Dogs.
Yep. So you want to talk about Mubi or what?
I would love to talk about Mubi.
Yes.
Mubi.
And for those of you who for some reason don't know,
Yeah.
we've been talking about this a bunch, but Mubi's great. It's got so many movies that you have never seen before.
Exactly.
And it goes from all sorts of different countries too. Like I gravitate towards the French movies and everything, but there's stuff from like South America and China and like every country imaginable sometimes is on this thing.
Yeah.
And recently I saw another French movie. It's called Buffet Foie.
Ah, yeah. With Gerard Depardieu.
Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah,
He's got the funnest name.
Yes, he does. And this is young Gerard Depardieu. This is before we Americans knew who he was, really.
My Father the Hero.
Well, I think it was Green
Green
Card.
Card.
Oh, Green Card.
Yeah. But yeah, he's in it, and it's so absurd. Like I didn't know movies like this could be made. It was like in the 70s they made this movie, and like it starts off with him in a subway, like it's late at night, maybe 2:00 in the morning or something like that, and he's talking to some guy, and like suddenly he just pulls out a knife and he says, "Hey, here, have my knife," and all that. They're having this conversation. He's like, "Here, have my knife," and the guy's like, "I don't want your knife. Get away from me!" And the guy gets on the train, and Gerard Depardieu runs after him. He's like, "Come back!" Next scene, we see this guy has been stabbed with Gerard Depardieu's knife. And Depardieu's like, he's like, "Well, who do you think did it? Did he look like me?" He's like, "Yeah, I think it was you, in fact." Like, it's so weird. And then he comes back home. He tells his wife, "I think I may have killed somebody." She puts the knife in the dishwasher. "Don't worry about it. We're going to clean this up." And so like they have this conversation and everything. Next morning, Gerard Depardieu's wife is dead. Somebody comes to the apartment and says, "I'm the one who killed your wife." And Gerard Depardieu's like, "Okay, come in." And they have tea together. Oh my God. And they're like in this apartment complex that looks abandoned, basically, but it's him and there's a police inspector. The police inspector just doesn't want to do his job ever. Like, there's a point where him, the guy who kills Depardieu's wife, and police investigator are all sitting together, and they're like, they said, so what do you do to solve these crimes? And he's like, "Well, as little as possible." And so it's just an absurd movie that I loved. I loved it.
This sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And that's one of the recent movies I've seen.
You're never going to get turned on to that if it weren't for this like curated
would
service.
have never heard of it.
Yeah.
And that's the point of this service, I believe, is just to introduce you to stuff you may have never given a chance before, or you've never heard of before. And you know, they're real passionate about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, like every one of their capsules is like, you know, please give this a chance. This is something.
Yeah, it gives you a description, and then it gives like a general description, and then it gives you the context in another like little paragraph that says, you know, this is where the director was coming from, and this is kind of their influences, and it influenced this, you know, this next wave and things like that. And particularly, so it's around Cannes time, the Cannes Film Festival that's coming up in a I think in May. And so there's a lot of like European stuff coming out, and I just saw one from Germany called Afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about like the European art house cinema is that it takes its damn time, you know, like it doesn't rush stuff. It lets stuff breathe. And this is like a family drama basically, that unfolds like in a lake house outside of Berlin. And it's just, it's beautifully shot. It's beautifully acted. It's understated. It gives you time to think about what people are saying in between when they're saying it. Mm. And then I love these slow builds where at the end, like you really get the emotional payoff from these characters. And that's what this has. It is really, really good. I would recommend it. But there's a ton of stuff that I had never heard of on here, especially from Europe. Mm-hmm. And man, it's really good stuff.
Yeah, you have a really good chance of seeing something quite amazing and something that you have never seen before. And I mean, definitely stuff that you haven't seen before. And like I said, this one that I just saw, I just like, I did, it's like a miracle. Like a movie like that could be made is amazing to me. So,
the only drawback here with the Mubi offer that we're giving you is that it comes at the very expensive price of $0.
Zero?
What? That's outrageous.
So you're going to have to go into your wallet or your change purse or whatever, your Bitcoin,
Your pocketbook.
vault, and deduct nothing and do nothing but sign up.
Yeah.
At Mubi.com/Cinemasins.
Yeah, go to that URL, Mubi, MUBI.com/Cinemasins. 30 days free. 30 days. Now, this is an extended free trial only if you go to that link.
Right.
So 30 days, man, you're going to fill up your cinematic brain cells. They're going to be puffed out. They're going to be swole.
That's right.
In a good way. Like swole like after you get done working out.
That's right.
You won't be finding anything like Lakeview Terrace
No.
on Mubi.
It's not going to happen.
You won't be finding any law-abiding citizen
Yeah.
on Mubi. You're going to be getting the good shit you never heard of, you never would have seen, and there's the hit or miss ratio is so high. On the positive side. It's kind of remarkable, and I guess that comes from this hyper curated thing. Again, this is not let's throw a million titles at you and you spend an hour even trying to choose. It's heavily curated. We think you might like this for this reason. Anyway, we've been enjoying it. We think you would too. Check it out. There's literally no reason not to.
Exactly. Mubi.com, MUBI.com/Cinemasins. 30-day free trial.
Bam. So let's go to our recommend and warns.
Yeah, how about it?
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award
Oh, for what?
for best movie ever made.
All right.
Oh, you looked at me.
I've seen a lot of shit this
I have
this
too.
week.
I've seen too much shit.
I've seen too much.
I could have spent 20 minutes right here on Law-Abiding Citizen, but I'm sure you'll move most of that to the outtakes. The first thing I briefly wanted to touch on, we've talked about these movies before and recently, but I managed somehow in the last week to see both the original Psycho and the Gus Van Sant remake of Psycho. And it's just renewed evidence that remake didn't need to be made and is inferior on every level.
This is another sort of, I mean, even though that Psycho is a shot-for-shot remake, quote-unquote, even though there's some different things in it, it's the same thing that I was just talking about with Old Boy and everything. It's the same essential story, but something's missing.
Yeah.
And it's, what is it? What is that it's missing?
Let me ask you this. If you had seen that without seeing the original Psycho or knowing that it existed, would it be a good movie?
Oh, maybe.
Because Vince Vaughn is not bad in this.
I do believe he's the worst thing about it, though.
Oh, really?
Because what happens is when he does that what Perkins does really well is that awkward, nervous laughter. Like, and when Vince Vaughn does it, I get shades of Wedding Crashers or Swingers. Like, when Trent and Swingers does that, like that fake laugh or whatever, like some of that creeps in. And those are the scenes that stand out the most to me is with anything with Vince Vaughn. I think Anne Heche's stuff is fine. Viggo Mortensen's fine.
Is he the detective?
No, that's William H. Macy. Viggo Mortensen's the boyfriend, Sam Loomis.
Oh, okay. It's been forever since I've seen it.
Anyway, it's the original is superior in every way, and I would, if you have never seen the sequel, just don't.
Yeah.
Just don't.
Yeah.
Because that'll be 2 hours you'll never get back, and you'll spend the whole time going, oh, the original did this better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's another thing, right? I mean, there's other minor things that may not even be an effect to the quality, but the first one is a black and white movie. You have different performers in it, and something comes off just weird, and you may just be either subconsciously or consciously just comparing that movie to the old movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I mean, that's not a revelation of any sort. I'm just saying that why do those remakes that are like that, are essentially the same movie, still come off just bad afterwards?
Yeah, it's a big "this movie exists" type of thing. You know?
Really.
Definitely. So I wrote down, I definitely wanted to recommend the original Psycho and warn against the remake.
God, that original one is so great. I think it's
really
because
is.
of the black and white. Of course, the blood was like corn syrup, wasn't it? Or it was some sort of concoction that Hitchcock made that showed up perfectly as blood in black and white.
Yeah,
only.
I think that's what it was.
It's one of the best shots of the film when he pans over and you see the water flowing pure, and then the blood starts coming into it. It's great.
Since you've seen this recently, here's possibly an example of why the original might be better than the remake. When you see in the original Anthony Perkins like watching that car go down into the water, you see him. He's just kind of like popping like either popcorn or something in his mouth, and you sort of root for him to get away with it, which is weird. But do you see Vince Vaughn doing anything like that?
Actually, Vince Vaughn, he's standing there popping some kind of food, but he plays it more of a I'm standing here because I'm not sure it's going to go all the way down into the water. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like the Perkins plays it more of a, it's almost like the scene is to show you he's done this a dozen times before.
Yeah, I did what I had to do to get.
Yeah, whereas Vince Vaughn plays it more of, I just committed my first murder and I'm not sure I'm covering it up right.
That's where I feel like those are those tiny differences that sort of add up after a while.
Well, the big difference is the implied voyeurism for Perkins, and then Vince Vaughn actually masturbates while he's looking through
actually
the
hear
thing.
sounds of him jerking off.
Yeah, it's unnecessary.
Yeah, and not to mention also that, because we're in the 90s at this point and we can show women naked, and hey, let's just go ahead and just show her naked. Let's might as well.
Is she naked in that?
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, and again, it's unnecessary. It's like Logan. We can, so let's do it.
Yeah.
I have more, but let's let you guys go first and see if we
ahead.
have time. Well, I saw recently a movie called Maggie's Plan. Have you guys seen this? This is it's actually Greta Gerwig is the main actress. The main.
This like me some Greta Gerwig.
This is why I watched it because I haven't seen a lot of her acting, and she's getting all this attention for Lady Bird and her directing work. And so this is a weird this is a fucked up romantic drama. Not fucked up in the way that'll scar you, but just like basically. She steals this. It's Ethan Hawke. She steals Ethan Hawke, this writer on the rise, away from his famous wife. Who I feel like it's Julianne Moore or somebody like that. And then it cuts to 3 years later. They've had a kid, but they're unhappy, and so Greta Gerwig's character decides her goal is to get him back together with his ex. Because the reason they're unhappy is he can't finish his book because he was unhappy with his first wife, and that fueled his productivity. And the happiness he has with Greta Gerwig keeps him from being able to write. And basically the movie ends with them as like this really weird nuclear family that has two couples and kids from different people in it. It's really bizarre. I had fun watching it. And she's just delightful as an actress.
Yeah.
The fact that she's getting any acclaim, I still haven't seen Lady Bird, I'm sure it's great, as a director is phenomenal because this means she's a two-sport player. And I didn't really have much familiarity with her acting, but she was compelling enough to keep me wrapped up in, and I read the description before I watched the movie. I knew she was going to try and get her husband back together with his first wife, and I was like, why would you do? But she was captivating.
By the way, that was Julianne Moore.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
But yeah, Greta Gerwig was a part. I don't. Does Mumblecore still exist? Is it still strong?
I don't know. It's not strong, I don't think. But
I don't know. You still have this like Swanbergs and all, and the Duplass brothers and all that. They're still cranking out those type of things. This is a movement that I didn't even know about until you brought it up one time.
Mumblecore?
Mumblecore.
Oh yeah.
And but Greta Gerwig was like the Meryl Streep of the Mumblecore.
Interesting.
Like these real low budget, just naturalistic type of movies.
This movie feels like that.
Yeah, and then her big break was Greenberg, the Ben Stiller movie.
Okay.
And then she got involved with Noah Baumbach.
Yeah.
Through that. And Frances Ha was her next big thing.
Yeah.
I love her, man.
Yeah, she's great.
I'm interested and excited to experience more of her work, both as a director moving forward and the stuff she acted in that I haven't seen yet.
By the way, that her scene with Ben Stiller in Greenberg, she has a sex scene with him, and it's the least sexy sex scene I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Really?
And it's
Have you ever
graphic.
seen Angel Heart?
We've come up with two unsexy scenes.
This is a boner killer too, by the way. This is
and then I can bring up the Emma Thompson, Jeff Goldblum one and the tall guy, which
yeah.
which is
We could do a whole episode on uncomfortable sex scenes.
yeah. where there's like a point where
Actually, that's not
there's
a bad idea.
there's a point where there's like just feet on a piano, and you're like, how are they having any kind of sex in this position? Like his feet are out, and it's like her feet are out too. Like
That's like the Showgirls. That's a terrible sex scene.
Oh my god!
Too.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah, that's horrible. And
I think even during filming of that, Kyle MacLachlan lost his dick. And they weren't even being serious.
He's like, God damn it, stop it.
It wasn't even penetration. He lost it.
Detachable penis.
That's right.
And then my official warn this week is going to be a relatively recent movie called The Pawn Shop Chronicles.
Yeah.
I'm getting the blank stares I was hoping for, because this movie is full of famous people you know, and it's basically three stories, three violent stories that are all anchored by this pawn shop, where one of the characters in each story ends up in the pawn shop at some point in their story. The pawn shop is run by Vincent D'Onofrio and Chi McBride, and they're kind of like the old Muppets. They just sit around chewing the fat in this pawn shop all day and probably get one customer a day.
By the way, not to interrupt, I do believe his name is Shy McBride, but I just wanted to put that out there.
I said something to Barrett in email recently about what a weird time it is to live in, because I don't watch TV news anymore. My wife still does, but I consume 99% of everything I read in print, online or in print. And so there's so many names of famous people who weren't famous 10 years ago.
Names are out of control, man.
And I don't know how to say them.
Yeah.
That was the
Shy
Betsy
McBride.
DeVos.
What?
That was the Betsy DeVos line.
Yeah, Betsy DeVos.
Yeah.
Because I said Betsy DeVos. I didn't fucking know.
Yeah.
I'd never heard an anchor pronounce her name. I'm not going to watch the goddamn news. Jesus
I understand,
Christ.
and it's VOS. So it's not like VOSS. Where
Well,
Right.
yeah, I had to do it twice because you were like, it's DeVos, and I said DeVos, but it was Diva, or however
it's
I said it.
DeVos, and you said it
I said
Devos
DeVos.
first, and then it was DeVos.
God damn. Anyway, so the opening vignette is a violent drug deal heist gone wrong with a backstabbing. Lucas Haas is in it. Paul Walker. This is actually the last role Paul Walker filmed. They're all playing unrecognizable, redneck talking, dirty people. And that ends violently, and a character ends up in the pawn shop. And then after they leave, Matt Dillon comes in. And Matt Dillon sees a ring. He actually comes in with his wife. They just got married, and he's going to buy her a wedding ring. And while shopping for a wedding ring, he sees the wedding ring he gave his first wife 6 years ago before she disappeared, and he's never seen her since. So he asks the pawn shop guy, "Where'd you get this ring? Where'd you get this ring?" And eventually he says, okay, if I'll tell you, it was given to me by this guy. It turns out to be the guy that was on that LA cop show, Southland and Walking Dead, blonde hair, big moosey looking guy. Can't remember his name. But you know him when you see him. So Matt Dillon asks this guy, "Well, where'd you get the ring?" And he won't tell him. So Matt Dillon beats the fuck out of him. And eventually this guy says, "Oh, okay, I won it in a card game from this guy." Turns out to be Elijah goddamn Wood. So Matt Dillon goes to this plantation-looking house, walks in. Elijah Wood is on the couch masturbating to porn of him having sex with 3 women at once. And Matt Dillon's like, "Where'd you get this ring? Where'd you get this ring?" And the guy, Elijah Wood's like, "I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where your wife is. I don't know how I came into possession of the ring. Blah 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 blah." Just insists. So Matt Dillon ties him down on his back to the coffee table and runs fishing hooks in 4 corners of his mouth up to the corners of the room, so that if he moves, he will tear out a chunk of his own cheek. And at that point, Elijah Wood says, "Okay, she's out back. She's in the first silo." So he goes out back, opens a grain silo, and there's a naked chick in a cage. Then he goes, and it's his former wife. She doesn't remember him. She's basically feral at this point. He goes back in and starts beating Elijah Wood in the mouth with a baseball bat. Then he goes outside and opens the other silo, and there's literally like 72 stacked naked women in cages.
Is Elijah Wood playing his character from Sin City?
Might as well
kinda
be.
seems like
Might
Yeah.
as well be. And so he lets them all out and says, "There's soap in the house." Literally, this is what he says. "There's soap and food in the house. Get yourself cleaned up." And then he takes his new wife and gets in the car and takes off. Well, she doesn't want anything to do with him. She's basically a nonverbal caveman. And he doesn't understand why she doesn't remember him, yada, yada, yada. Somehow that story ends, And we go to Brendan Fraser, who's an Elvis impersonator. And he's got this big gig at the county fair tonight, and he's going to do his Elvis impersonation. But then he meets the devil. And the devil offers to let him be as good as Elvis in exchange for his soul. So he sells his soul to the devil and goes up to the county fair and sings some gospel song. I think it's Amazing Grace. And everybody loves it, and there's like angelic sounds, yada, yada. And then 72 naked women from the barns walk into the county fair and line the front of the stage because they're mesmerized by this movie is insanity.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And it doesn't hit any of the notes it thinks it hits.
Yeah.
It's like the only way this movie gets made is because you segmented everybody's story so that Elijah Wood never got to see what you were filming with Matt Dillon, so he didn't really understand exactly how fucked up everything in this movie was, or he wouldn't have agreed to it. And it's one of these things where somebody famous probably wanted to write and direct their first feature and knew enough people. I can get Brendan Fraser for 3 days. I can get Chi McBride for 3 days. I can get Vincent D'Onofrio for 3 days. And it's like, did you ever see that movie $20 that followed a $20 bill as it passed from person to person?
I don't think I saw that.
This movie is trying to be like that.
Oh, yeah?
With a little bit of a Pulp Fiction comic violence vibe, and it just does not hit. But again, I was riveted start to finish.
That's crazy. He did. So this is Wayne Kramer that directed it. He wrote The Cooler, and I think he directed it too.
Yeah, I believe,
the William H. Macy
Yeah,
thing?
I believe
Oh, yeah.
He wrote and directed that movie.
That sounds insane.
It's insane. I was like, Pawn Shop Chronicles, I've never heard of this. And I was like, oh, Paul Walker? All right, well, I'll just settle in. And I started seeing more and more famous faces, and I thought, well, how does this happen? How does this movie get made? And I never even heard of it.
It reminds me, there's 2 movies that we didn't cover in the summer preview thing that have some pretty heavy ads with whatever I'm watching for whatever reason. But there's one called Hotel Artemis, the Jodie Foster and like a million other people in it.
I haven't seen that.
Basically it's a hospital for criminals. And like it's got a ton of people. It's got Jodie Foster, Sophia Boutella, Dave Bautista, Jeff Goldblum, Jenny Slate, Sterling K. Brown. And it's just like a ton. Charlie Day, Brian Tyree Henry, Zachary Quinto. I mean, there's like a ton of people in it, and I keep seeing trailers for it, and it's coming out like later in the summer, I think. But that's what, when you started bringing this up, I was like, this reminds me of this, even though it's not exact, it's not in no way like it. But there's that other one too that they're doing, and Baird and I were talking about it. Sorry to Bother You.
Mm-hmm.
There's another movie that's going to be coming out that's got this weird kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And it's got Lakeith Stanfield and Tessa Thompson in it. And it looks really funny, but who knows? It could be one of those that just go under the radar, and we end up having Jeremy tell us what it's about.
I'm just now kind of fully realizing this today. I really enjoy telling you guys the plot of terrible movies that I had fun watching.
You're very good at it.
It's a very entertaining experience
Yes.
for me.
You were thinking about Norman Reedus, right? Who was in The Walking Dead?
No.
Oh, somebody else from The Walking Dead, because Norman Reedus is in this.
I get this guy confused with
Martin McDonough? Or
no.
Mark McCauley?
He played Bull on something.
Night Court?
Not Night Court.
it was just called Bull, right?
No, that is a different guy from NCIS.
Kevin Rankin, Pell James, Sam Hennings.
Have you pulled up the movie?
Yeah. Michael Cuditz.
That's it.
Michael Cuditz?
If you Google him or click on his face,
he's in Grosse Point Blank.
you recognize that guy.
Oh, yeah, he's the red-haired guy.
He's Bobby Beamer in Grosse Point Blank.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he's in The Walking Dead.
For a while.
Yeah.
He's on that LA cop show with the guy from the OC.
Oh, yeah.
I saw this movie called
Southland.
The Net with the girl from the bus.
Yeah. You're talking about Southland on that one. All right. So I think I've probably recommended these before on this podcast before, but they're in new seasons. And if you haven't seen these, then you should definitely give them a chance. Atlanta's second season is better than the first one.
I don't know how I haven't seen this show.
Me too.
Atlanta's second season has, like, the first season was basically just about Donald Glover trying to help this rapper named Paperboy, and I think they're cousins or something. I can't remember if they've got some family relationship or whatever, but he's trying to help him get big, essentially. And so, like, and that was the David Tyree Henry that I just mentioned that was in this Hotel Artemis. like he's trying to help him, and it's basically just all the struggles that somebody has if you're poor and you're trying to get somebody, you know, out there and get on the radio and everything like that. And it had its like real awesome surreal moments and everything like that all the way through it. This season they've subtitled this season Robin season. And so like each episode does have some sort of element of somebody has gotten robbed or whatever or something. But what they're doing in this season is, instead of having everybody together in every episode, they all have like their own single episodes, these characters. And so like the Paperboy character, there's been 2 episodes this season where just one of them is he just wants to get a haircut, but the guy who he goes to get his haircut from is like constantly like, I'll get with you. I'll be there in a second. I'll be there. And then it'll be like, hey, I need to go to this place real quick. Could you mind riding with me? I'll cut your hair. I'll cut your hair there. It'll be fine. And he just keeps on like going along with it. And like every single time he's like, all right, could you just please cut my hair? And he's like, I got this one other thing I got to do. Before we go. This is the whole episode. And like, there's 2 episodes that really show like this character of Paperboy. He's a famous rapper, but he has to go through so many weird, like unfamous things to live his life. And it's just a real interesting thing. There's one where Donald Glover's girlfriend, like it's basically a big, huge breakup episode, essentially, where they're like going back and forth and eventually having to tell the truth to each other about what makes them unhappy and all this other stuff. But then like they go to one where that girlfriend, he's broken up with the girlfriend and she's in another episode by herself with all of her other girlfriends. And they're going to this party. They're going to this Drake party in Atlanta or whatever. And like, and it just follows them the entire time. And there's one episode that had no commercial interruption where Lakeith Stanfield's character goes to a house to pick up a piano. And the guy who owns the piano is this, I would say, Michael Jackson-esque character who was, you know, he's obviously like, I guess he was a black entertainer, but his skin is like super like white now. I'm pretty sure Donald Glover played this character.
He definitely did. I've read about this episode.
Oh, really?
And it is fucking crazy, this episode, because it's another one of those things where like, you know, the character goes and they want this one thing, but like the person keeps on like putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and everything. And I can't do it justice just by saying how great it is. Just, you need to go watch Atlanta.
That's next on my list.
Watch the first season and then go into this one, which is just explores just new territory and everything. And everything about it's just so, I don't know. It's not like a laugh out loud show, but you will be entertained and smiling throughout it. And it's just very well put together. And the other show is Billions. I mentioned Billions before. It's in its 3rd season.
Have you seen the picture of Damian Lewis as Toronto Mayor Rob Ford?
No, but I bet he's perfect.
He's unrecognizable.
Yeah,
I guess so.
I'll pull it up while you talk about Billions.
But Billions is another great show. This is from Brian Koppelman, who and his writing partner David Levian, who they're mostly known for Rounders and everything, but I think they've sort of made a name for themselves with this show.
All I hear are great things about this show.
Yeah, the first season is Paul Giamatti trying to get Paul Giamatti is a district attorney in New York. And Damian Lewis is this like mega billionaire, you know, like he owns this place called Axe Capital, and he's got all these underlings under him, and he's got insider trading and all that type of stuff, but it's not just insider trading. And he actually gets real defensive about all this whole thing. Like, it's not, you know, it's skill that I'm doing and everything, and they should stop, you know, trying to come after me because I'm so awesome. But like the whole, oh my God, that's amazing. That's exact.
I could have asked you, who is that? And you would have said 100 people before
Oh,
Damian
yeah.
Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus, I can't wait to see this. Sorry, go
But
ahead.
yeah, the whole first season is him trying to get something on Damian Lewis, trying to find something that will take him down. And of course, it's way harder than that you would ever think. It would. It's trying to take down the wealthy is a very, very hard thing to do. And then the whole second season is almost sort of the same thing, although this is more Paul Giamatti's like trying to get revenge and going over the line season. They're both bad characters essentially. Like you root for Giamatti and you kind of root for Damian Lewis, but they're not great people. I mean, Giamatti does a lot of stuff in this series that you're like, yeah, you're way over the line, because he recuses himself from one of the cases. I believe it's in the second season, but he's getting all the information and all that. He's always getting, because there's a point where he asks his underling, like, okay, so how's this case going? He goes, you recused yourself. I can't tell you anything about it. And he still finds the ways to get it. So, this third season though is there was a great season finale to season 2 that's led into this season, where Giamatti basically just went nuclear with like going over the line. And but it has put Damian Lewis in a worse spot. And now Damian Lewis is trying to figure out, how do I keep doing the things that I do with less resources?
I have never found Damian Lewis to be anything short of exceptional.
Yeah.
So it's definitely on the list of things I need to get to.
Well, even in a show that was short-lived called Life, he was great in that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Did you like that?
Oh, I loved it. I loved that show. The problem is it set up a premise that didn't really have a chance of going farther than a couple of seasons, because it's all about he was in prison and he's trying to find this murderer or whatever. Like, he was wrongfully accused. He was framed of a murder. And so he's like trying to find the person. He's got his whole evidence wall and everything like that and everything. And it's only so far it can go. It's like Prison Break, it's like, you're gonna have 5 seasons of them in the same prison. Well, apparently not. But Life was like that too, because I think he pretty much knew who did it by the end of the first season. So, there's not much else you can do. There's no more mystery driving the show at that point. I mean, maybe he didn't. Maybe there was supposed to be something like he thought it was this person. I don't know how the show ended up really finishing, actually, because they canceled it before it had a chance to. He was great in that show.
Do you have any warns?
Nope.
All right. I kind of want to start with my warn.
Go for it.
Do it.
Okay. Have you seen the new Lost in Space on Netflix?
Okay, so I was geeked to watch it until you put it as your warn, because I've read mostly B to B plus kind of reviews. It seems to be getting that kind of general reception, and I loved the original show, and I'm still going to watch it just because there may be something that connects me to it that didn't for you. But you didn't like it, huh?
No.
How much have you watched?
I just saw the first episode. What was the tone of the original show?
Campy.
Right. Okay. And so the movie got criticized for being disjointed, where it was campy at times, but then it was trying to be like kind of a regular action thriller and stuff like that. So the new show like wants to take your soul and squeeze it out of your body.
Okay.
It starts by this miserable fucking family being in this ship that lands on this planet, the same planet that they're supposed to, or seemingly that they're supposed to be on. And then after they crash into the planet, they continue being miserable and making each other miserable and having miserable dialogue. Then it flashes back to their previous miserable life on Earth.
So it's like Lost.
Yeah.
In space. Exactly. So the family kind of hates each other. Will Robinson is a big old pussy that is useless. Everybody gets separated from everybody through the most contrived plot devices ever. It is miserable. Everybody in this show, the first episode, cries. This entire the entire cast of the family of 5 all have at least one cry, and some of them have multiple cries. It is miserable. It's a miserable show.
Didn't I put this on a previous podcast as something I was looking forward to seeing and list out like what the director's credits were?
I think so, yeah.
Because I think it's like because I remember being geeked about a new Lost in Space show from Netflix, and then it was like, from the guys that brought you Chairman of the Board or something. It's something like that.
They did Dracula Untold.
Yes.
The Last Witch Hunter, Gods of Egypt, and Power Rangers.
Yes.
So,
Okay, so
yes.
Power Rangers is the only one on there that has any merit.
Yeah.
And
So it is a fucking slog. Now, granted, it could just be the first episode. Maybe it gains steam afterwards.
maybe they were trying too hard for setup on that first episode, and
God.
it's more fun later.
Yeah, I hope so. It cannot get less fun. The only fun element is at the end, and this isn't giving anything away because she's listed. Parker Posey is Dr. Smith,
Right.
in this show, and she's right at the very end of the pilot of the first episode, and she seems like maybe she would have fun with this.
Well,
but
in the show, that was always where the fun came from. Was him, and then the interactions with him and Will and the robot, and with the adults and the 2 sisters, it really was more serious and make each other miserable, and maybe there's some action with the Don and John going off, but the fun always came from Dr. Smith. And so there's hope for me there.
Yeah.
Because Parker Posey's great.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm on board with the idea of gender swapping that character. I've read actually a lot about this show. I know almost everything they changed from the original. Like, I know that the robot doesn't go with them. It comes from some alien ship they encounter. I'm fine with all that stuff. But, yeah, we'll see. I guess I'll watch more than you did before I decide to keep going or give up.
Let me know if I should go any further, because
less
it was
enthusiastic.
the entire way. Starting at about 10 minutes in, I was like, maybe this isn't going to be good, because it looks fine. The performances seemed fine at first. The mom in this is somebody that seemed familiar.
Molly
but
Parker.
Molly Parker.
Yeah.
She looks really familiar, but I don't think I've
She's
seen
been in
a
a ton
lot
of. She's been in a ton of stuff. She was in The Wicker Man.
What do I know her from?
I don't know. That's why I was asking
She's
myself.
like, I can picture her face. I've
I
seen
know,
the previews
I know.
for this, and I know I've seen her in a handful of things.
The Wicker Man is probably the most recognizable.
She was
thing
on
I've seen her.
Deadwood, but yeah, I mean, I remember her from The Wicker Man the most because she plays like she's in House of Cards. If you saw that,
That is
That's
definitely where I
where
saw her.
Yes, she played the one that got with the guy from Moonlight, Mahershala Ali.
yeah,
She slept with him.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
where I know her from.
yeah.
And she's perfectly fine. She cries a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like
So
it-
anyway, it's a big. That first episode is a big old warn from me.
All right. I'll check it out. I'll let you know. It's still it's one of the highest on my list of things I'm going to watch.
Well,
So-
yeah. Let me know what you think. And so my recommend is also on Netflix, and this is a show that's been on there for a while, and I can't believe I haven't checked it out. Big Mouth. Big Mouth is an animated show that has everybody that's super funny in it. I'll tell you so John Mulaney is the main character. Nick Kroll is his best friend. Jesse Klein is in it. Jason Mantzoukas is the third friend.
Yeah.
Jenny Slate, Fred Armisen is fucking hilarious in this. And I'll come back to my favorite part. Jordan Peele is in this as a few different voices. It's all about sexual awakening in adolescence, and it pulls no fucking punches. Like, it goes into the nitty gritty of, male puberty, female puberty, how things are developing physically and emotionally. And emotionally, they have this thing called the hormone monster. And Nick Kroll plays the hormone monster that's interacting with the people all through the episodes for the guys. And then Maya Rudolph plays the hormone monstress for the girl. She is the funniest fucking thing I think I've ever seen in an animated TV show.
Oh, really?
Every episode, I've seen most of the first season. I guess there's only one season. I've seen about 7 episodes. And every episode, I get at least like 5 belly laughs out of it. And it's a 26-minute
Sounds
show.
awesome.
It is fucking hilarious. It's the most profane, most realistic, like, get up in there and talk about all of the shit that goes on that nobody talks about during adolescence. It is fucking great. The other names on this is hilarious. Richard Kind is in it. He's fantastic. I mentioned Maya Rudolph plays a few different characters. Kristen Bell has a great voice. Chelsea Peretti, Mark Duplass, Paul Scheer, Nathan Fillion as himself,
Yeah, that's
and as a
hell
dog.
of a lot of funny people.
And one of the best moments in this first run of episodes is Kristen Wiig as a vagina. One of the characters for the first time takes a mirror and peers up to see what's going on there. Kristen Wiig is like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she's like, "Let me take you on a tour of what's going on down here. Up there is the real spot right there. And then down here, that's where the pee comes out." Oh my God, she's so fucking hilarious. And it's stuff like that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch this.
You can binge it really quickly. I mean, I just kind of fit it in where I could get it, but I keep looking forward to the next show.
Yeah,
it's so great.
That sounds awesome.
It's a
good
big recommend.
Again, we don't have enough time for questions.
Okay, we seriously need to pause and do a whole episode with questions.
Yeah.
To make it up.
So here's the deal. Next week, we're definitely going to do an MCU one because I recently watched all of them, and I'm going to watch Infinity War tonight.
That's right.
So,
Infinity War!
So I rewatched all of them, and we're going to sort of discuss the MCU at large. I don't know how long that's going to take. May take a long time. May take
It'll
a whole
be interesting
episode.
to go into all the nitty gritty because you've just over the last couple weeks. Or so?
It took 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more to get them all done. I tried to see one a day, but then there was a point where, there was a period of time where I had some days where I couldn't watch it and watch them and everything. So then I had to I had to ramp it up towards the end there.
By the way, Infinity War already kind of spoiled for me.
Oh yeah,
I have intentionally avoided even headlines.
Dude, I set up filters in Twitter so that tweets with certain words would be muted. I spent an hour on it. Didn't matter.
Yeah,
Came at me a different way.
You spent an hour on the filters.
Anyway, you guys are probably going to enjoy yourselves tonight, I hope. I got nothing else to say.
But yeah, we're going to talk about that, and then if we haven't gotten enough time for questions in that episode, then I think we can do a question episode.
Yeah.
After that, and then we'll get back on our road trip.
Yeah, man.
But that does it for this episode. Keep going to the SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook.
Yeah, good stuff.
Keep going to Reddit. Keep going to Twitter. I love the questions that are coming in, and love answering. It seems it's a fun thing. I didn't expect it to be fun.
Yeah,
when it started.
We have a kind and thoughtful and smart audience that wants to engage on levels that we don't typically think about.
Right. And that's what's so rewarding about it, I think, is, people come out of the woodwork with some questions. You're like, whoa, I never thought about it that way before. Anyway, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I think I read the whole thing where it was like, my enemies in nature.
Yeah. And the snake one, which was like the first one, number 14, he was like, or he or she, whoever it was like, leave a pile of leaves on your yard for more than a week. You have now created a snake habitat. pile up firewood outside without putting it on a raised platform. You have now created a snake habitat.
Like I said, I can't find the actual aftermarket guru on Google. Like there's some things called that, but it's not it. And like I said, the thing that does come up is some car place, and I called the car place, and I was like, and first, of course, the person answering the phone is like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, who is this again? And they're like, who do you think you're getting? I was like,
oh, really?
Is this place called Aftermarket Guru? And they're like, no, this is called, because it is a different name it's something blah 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 concepts or whatever. And I was like, so I was just, and the guy didn't understand what I was saying. So
the fuck would it be? Did you order anything like recently?
No, unless it was in my sleep.
You ordered like a replica of Gwyneth Paltrow's head in the box.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
You'd have to keep it in the box.
Yeah. That would be even better if I go to the door and it's Morgan Freeman.
Last night, I ended up watching Law Abiding Citizen.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever seen this movie?
No, but I went through it because we did that White Olympus House Has Fallen Down, and
they're both
like, they had as Jared Butler in it and
Jamie Foxx,
and so like I was going through trying to find scenes in the movie that would quote unquote make sense in that video and everything. And so like, so I've seen parts of it.
God, it is maybe the most insane movie I've ever seen. Like,
what is the concept of this? He's
Gerard
like wrongfully
Butler,
accused, right?
10 years ago, his wife and family were murdered by two people.
Mm-hmm.
And the DA cut a deal with one of the murderers so that he could put the other one away. Rather than go to trial and risk both of them getting off free.
Mm-hmm.
And Gerard Butler is pissed. And he's spent 10 years. And basically, the movie opens with him brutally torturing one of the killers.
Oh.
Like chainsawing. He put some drug in him. He was like, this paralyzes you, but you will feel everything. And then it shows him talking about, I'm going to use this X-Acto knife to cut off your eyelids. And I'm going to use this thing to cut off your penis. Like he whirs up this saw and he comes down with the saw on the guy's leg and you hear screaming. And so then he just goes home and Jamie Foxx and the cops, they find the body. They find out who owns the property. It's Gerard Butler and they go and arrest him. Gerard Butler's in court and he finds some obscure law. Because he's probably been studying law for the last 10 years, so that he can get out on bail. I'm going to tell you the whole movie. Right. And the judge is like, I'm inclined to agree with your argument. And he was like, that's so fucking stupid, lady. Why would you do that? She's like, what? You're going to be in contempt of court. He's like, this is what's wrong with the legal system. I just murdered two people and you're going to let me walk? Because I gave you an obscure thing? Don't think I don't remember who you are, lady. And she's like, what? And apparently she was the judge in the original trial and they're in the original courtroom. So she holds him in contempt of court and sends him off to prison. While he's in prison, he's like, hey, I know where the other murderer's body is. You want me to tell you? Give me a nice mattress. And at this point, I'm like, this movie's kind of bonkers. And Jamie Foxx is like, okay. So he gives him a nice mattress and goes out and finds the other body. And while he's out, Gerard Butler stabs his cellmate in the neck. Why? Because he wants to get sent to solitary. Why? Because he owns the land next to the prison and in the last 10 years has built a tunnel from this land to the solitary confinement cell.
Oh, my God.
And he is breaking out and basically he has this Joker Skyfall plan where he's God. There's this scene where like Jamie Foxx talks to this mysterious guy who's like, he's the smartest man you'll ever meet. He's not military. He's better than military. He's a professional thinker and planner and wherever he is, if he's in prison, he wants to be in prison and blah, blah, blah. And basically one by one, everybody that Gerard Butler is pissed at dies through this puppet master. God damn, I was watching this thing going, this shit is insane. How did you even make it, let alone with two huge stars? Like, how did they not read this and go, this should be a cartoon?
Yeah.
I had so much fun watching it. It's so terrible. God, I'd never seen a trailer. I never knew anything about this movie. I was expecting something along the lines of Lakeview Terrace.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No,
too, yeah.
no.
Wow.
It's bonkers.
I think the image I used doesn't Jamie Foxx win in the end?
He does barely.
He ends up like setting fire to a cell or something like that and walking out. Yeah. So Jamie Foxx was in White House Down and Jared Butler was in
Olympus
Has
Has Fallen.
And so through all the mismatch of all the different like footage and everything,
That's so great.
Was able to find that movie, and then I had Any Given Sunday in there, and because it was that and James Woods, and then Aaron Eckhart, and
well, from James Woods, you even went to Contact.
Yeah, Contact. Yeah. Because Angela Bassett's in one of those movies.
One of them. Okay, they're the exact same movie, though.
Well,
right?
Olympus Has Fallen is a much better movie. But there's so many people in both of those movies, it's sometimes hard to figure out who was who and what.
Olympus Has Fallen is the better movie?
Yes.
I think I've
by
seen
far,
White House Down. And
by
not that.
far the best movie.
Really? And that's the
Yeah.
one with Gerard Butler, right?
Yeah.
And it's the only one of the two that has a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the London Is Falling, right?
Yeah. Olympus Has Fallen is Die Hard in the White House.
Maybe I've seen that one. Yeah. I
White
think that's
House
the one I
Down
saw.
is just it's so shitty.
Are they both rated R?
White House Down is PG-13.
Okay, I saw the one that was a lot more violent than I thought it was. So that
Olympus
was a
Has
less.
Fallen is
Yeah, that's the one with Gerard
Olympus
Butler.
Has Fallen is definitely R.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit! 'Cause
They're
I was
like, 'cause
expecting
people get mowed the fuck down.
Yeah, no shit. Like in the first, 30
Yeah, because they
minutes.
have that plane that somehow bypasses all
It
of
goes
the,
around the Washington.
all of America and goes through Washington D.C. and starts just blowing people away. And then they've got like the trucks that come in and like guys come out and start shooting and crap. Yeah, and then but yeah, it's when you start getting into the inner sanctums of the White House. Like I can't remember if it was because Morgan Freeman is definitely the guy who takes over in Olympus Has Fallen.
He assumes the presidency.
Yes,
Right.
While Aaron Eckhart is
trying to do this
has
shit.
been kidnapped or whatever.
Okay.
But then, like in White House Down, you start mixing in like Richard Jenkins is in there.
Oh,
And you have like Channing Tatum and
And they came out right around the same time.
Olympus Has Fallen came out in April, I believe, and then White House Down came out around Independence Day and everything.
Oh,
Because
shit.
because it's Roland Emmerich, of course.
God damn it. Oh.
Anyway, that's not even my recommend or my warn, but you guys would both love watching Law Abiding Citizen.
I've got it in there. I can watch it.
Just for the bonkersness of it.
Yeah, I got to check
It's
that
kind
out.
of like a Saw movie. It's that insane. Only it's got Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler, and it's taking itself seriously.
I thought that was another like PG-13, like just you casual thriller.
Like they
Apparently.
even go to take a meeting with the judge and tell her, hey, we've learned this guy is like super think ahead planner guy. We got to be careful. Maybe we should even like break his civil rights to keep him in prison. And the judge is like, you can't be serious. And her phone rings and she goes to pick it up. And he's like, you're going to answer your phone after all that shit you gave me in court? And she's like, I'm the judge. I can do what I want. Hello? Boom! The phone explodes her head. Because Gerard Butler knew they would be taking that meeting. God, I'm telling you, I want to watch it again. It's a piece of shit. This is like my new Demolition Man.
my God. Everybody knows that by
Yeah.
now.
Everybody knows.
Yes.
That's a great song.
It
Yes, it is.
Everybody knows that the dice are loaded.
There's what is that used in? There's a TV show episode or a movie. There might be a Sopranos episode.
I know Watchmen uses 2 Cohen songs, I think, aside from the obvious one.
Actually, I do think that song is in Watchmen.
And yeah, they have. I think it might be that one too. Although, does he do the? I don't think they do that one. The
First, you take Manhattan. Then you take Berlin.
that one. I don't think they do that one in there, even though it would have been
That would have been on the nose.
perfect. Yeah. It would have been very on the nose, but
Yeah.
it's better than that Hallelujah shit.
I
that
love
they
what
do.
was the
shit.
movie recently that cuts to Paris and starts playing London Calling?
Oh, Atomic Blonde, yeah.
What the fuck is that?
Dum, brum, brum,
Yeah.
Paris.
Yeah, what was that all about? That had
You know
to
what's funny? There was a comment on that video that said, well, London Calling is about how much London sucks. And I was like, I don't give a shit. It's the Londonest song ever.
Yeah.
And you're playing it. You waited until fucking Paris to play it.
that means that you can just play London Calling anywhere. You can play it in Kashmir if you want.